Discord.
This meeting is being recorded.
And then I'm going to share my screen so that way everybody can kind of see where we're at. And I am going to open the slides. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on slides. We really want to dive into the profiles and take a look at some real life examples of what we might define to be successful and a best practice, as well as having a discussion and those types of things. So let me, on this other screen I have over here, open up my chat so I can let people in, and we are basically good to go. So the very first thing that I really kind of want to discuss is kind of lay a foundation for why this platform is so extremely important to us. And what we really kind of want to look at is why recruiters are using LinkedIn to find talent. And obviously it all goes back to cost effectiveness. And while these dates might be getting a little bit older, it still kind of really paints a picture for us as to how effective cost to hire, average time to fill a position, and how the quality of hires have increased based off of using social networking to find talent. So if we look, once again, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, the average cost to fill a role was about $4,500. That's actually up about $3,000 from where it was the year prior. And that's simply because companies are finding that by using technology to their advantage is more advantageous to fill a position faster, as well as find a more qualified candidate. And you can see by the other two bullets there that the time to hire has decreased by about 6 days. And more than anything, their quality hires have increased by about 10%. So a quality hire is somebody that stays in a position for a longer period of time and they perform above the company's standards. Obviously, this is really important to an organization because they want people to stay in their organization. And the best way to get a person to stay in their organization is by having that individual referred into their company. We may have heard the best way to get a job is to become a referral, or the best way to get a job is through your network. So what we really want you to do, and this kind of leads into the importance of LinkedIn, is use this platform to develop a network, build community, so that way you can become a referral from somebody that might be considered a total stranger. So the person that you're in this workshop with today that you've never really met, you're going to get to know as you share content, write content, share resources, help each other out. And when you help each other out, the more likely that individual would be to refer you to a job that they may know about. And as we look down into the tools that are used by recruiters, the number one way to source candidates is through employee referral. And then the next one after that is the company website, because if you think about it, the website is already paid for. So for a recruiter to post a job on a company website technically isn't going to cost them anything. Then they look at free job boards and then paid job boards. As we're looking at paid job boards, we're mainly familiar with Indeed, Monster, Career Builder, niche websites like Ladders, USA Jobs, remote work type websites, those types of things. And of course, it costs companies to advertise their positions on those different types of platforms. But the one that is the most expensive is actually LinkedIn. As you can see here, it's about $200 for a 30-day recruiter license. And a recruiter license allows that recruiter to have in-depth knowledge and the ability to search for talent in a way other recruiters can't. A job slot, which we're going to talk about later when we talk about applying for positions online, costs $28,000 per year, and that's for 15 slots. And what that means is the recruiter is given 15 jobs that they could post on LinkedIn. And as soon as they fill that position, they can put in another slot. So they want to keep those slots open because they're obviously paying for it. So whenever we see a job slot being used, we have to realize that that is really a hot job that they're trying to fill. So we'll kind of take a look at that later at the end when we're talking about applying for jobs. Leonore, do you have anything you want to add to sort of this and what you've seen in your research?
No, not to this part. Thanks, Scott.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on this? With that said, I'll go on.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah.
On that, then what does that compare to other job advertising platforms? I mean, this seems kind of expensive. So
Sure.
is that, what's that compared to that eliminate a lot of ability to see different people because they're spending a lot to get onto LinkedIn?
Exactly. So Indeed is set up by what we call pay to play type of a thing. So when a recruiter pays Indeed to scrape their company job board and put their jobs on Indeed, every time you click on that position, Indeed then charges the company. So companies obviously are willing to pay when it's pay per click. If you look at organizations like Monster and Career Builder, maybe ZipRecruiter, et cetera, it's more of a package type thing. And what companies have come to realize is that they're not getting much applicants through those platforms because everybody seems to be using LinkedIn to look for employment. And as a result, they're more likely to invest their money in the LinkedIn platform versus the other job boards that might be out there. Jason Boone, who's a good friend of mine, and would co-facilitate this workshop with me as well, said that they have basically cut out all of their budget and they're putting it all into LinkedIn to find talent through the recruiter license and then by posting jobs online, simply because what they can do is not only can they find talent, but then when they go look at their profiles, they get a little bit more in-depth knowledge of the skills that that candidate might bring to the job. And that's why it's a little bit more advantageous for them to use this platform versus anything else. Okay. All right, next slide. So why LinkedIn? Why wait? 89%, and that number has potentially gone up, use LinkedIn to hire people. And over 10 million individuals have actually found their job from this platform. If we look at social media in particular, LinkedIn is the highest as far as business to business or peer to peer collaboration. Twitter is next because Twitter doesn't necessarily have a fee base to it. And then we have Facebook all the way down. For those of us that are in service or a military spouse, you can obtain LinkedIn Premium for 1 year, and you can make that start whenever you would like to sort of make it happen. All you really need to do is a quick Google search, LinkedIn Premium Military Spouse, LinkedIn Premium Veteran, and it'll take you to exactly where you need to go to obtain that. From what I understand for the veteran is when that expires, you literally totally let it lapse, and then you go back and you try to do it again, and you'll get LinkedIn Premium again at no cost. For a military spouse, you will obtain LinkedIn Premium every time your military member does a PCS, or when they separate or retire from the military. You will get that through Military OneSource and the Military Spouse Employment Partnership. Leonore, you just recently did this, correct?
I did, yes.
And how is that for you?
Oh, it's been great. I honestly didn't know how to do that, but it was super easy. Just like you said, you Google and go through the steps, and then you get all those cool features that come with it.
And then for the military spouses, do I have any military spouses out there that have obtained it for free and have gone through MSEP?
I did.
And how is it for you, Carla?
Oh, it's great. I use the veteran. Now I'm using military. Next time I'm gonna use veteran again.
So you're just gonna kind of mix it up to whatever
Yeah.
will work for you, right?
Working from waiting for my husband's ADSO so I can use as separate.
Uh-huh. Awesome. Okay. All right. So what's often then asked to me is, Scott, what do you get with LinkedIn Premium? And I think actually the premium service went up. I think it's now $39.99 and not $29.99. So it's $10 more. With that said, there are definitely benefits to using it. However, you can definitely get maximum. You can get the maximum out without necessarily having it. And we'll kind of take a look at the benefits that you get as we kind of jump into our profiles. But the one thing that's kind of cool is what we call featured applicant status. And what that means is if there's a job that's been posted on LinkedIn, let's say it was 10 days ago, and you decide to apply for it, your name automatically populates to the top of the list for that recruiter to see. Another thing that you get is a LinkedIn badge. It's a little gold LinkedIn that's on your profile that shows individuals that you have a premium account. The one thing that I think that's good about that aspect of it is when I'm looking at a person's LinkedIn profile and I notice they have that gold badge, I feel like they're invested in the site and they're probably more likely than not to have a conversation with me, answer any questions that I might have, or offer any type of support. Another thing that I think, this is probably what I use the most, is profile views. I can see everybody that has viewed my profile within the last 90 days. So what I'll do is, as I'm working on building my network, is I'll look at who's viewed my profile, and then I'll reach out to connect with those individuals if they haven't done it yet. Another thing that's pretty neat is you get 5 in-mails per month. If you do not have premium, an in-mail will cost you $10 to send to another person, and then that $10 is reimbursed if that individual replies back to you. This is kind of nice because while it's not necessarily a connection request, it is a way for you to provide them more information about who you are without necessarily a character limit. So it's basically like an email that you're sending to somebody on the platform that you're not necessarily connected with yet. If you're connected to that individual, then you don't have to send an in-mail. But if you're not connected with them and you kind of want to send sort of maybe something that's a little bit like a cover letter, then an in-mail is what you'll want to send them besides a connection request. Other things that you get is an advanced search where you can really kind of dive in and search for different types of individuals. You get an open network to people that are 3 degrees away from you, the ability for them to also connect with you. And then another thing that's really nice is as you're applying for jobs, you can see your competition level. You'll see how many people have applied for that job opportunity through the platform. You'll see their education level, their experience level, the geographic location of the applicants, and then a little bit more background about the company for the job that you're applying for, which would then help you in doing your research in applying for those jobs. Any questions on premium services?
Scott, I got a comment.
Yes, sir.
So I exercised my premium probably about a month ago. I had been on the platform almost a year prior to that. And I think the data analytics on it from when you become premium is a game changer, especially when you're applying for jobs. And you can see people that are on it, and it kind of broadens the space for you to do it. And especially like with a career builder for someone trying to figure out where they want to go and how they want to go on it, I think it's a game changer.
I totally agree. Yep. I think that's a great way to look at it. And, you know, if you're hot and heavy in a job search, you're going to be making some sort of potential financial investment into the process of looking for employment. So for $40 a month for the 2, 3, even up to 6 months you're looking for a job, it might be a wise investment. And then once you obtain a position, go ahead and turn it off until you're back into that process of looking for a job again. If you're not in the process of looking for employment, then I don't think it's necessarily a service that you really need.
I had something.
Yes, go ahead. Hi.
Hi, I talked to you last night. I'm Nadina,
Yes,
and
yes.
I'm a transitioning teacher, and I'm also an exit. I'm trying to help teachers to get as much information as I can. I've been using the premium to look at the skills. So whenever the job shows up, it has the 10 skills they're looking for. And then I go back after I will see a few like trends, I go back and put that for my skills. And that helps a lot. So if it says like 5 out of 10, then you have like 8 out of 10. So I like that part too.
That's a great point. And you'll be able to visually see what she's talking about when we look at a job announcement, and you'll see the skills that might be lacking in your profile. And then we'll look at how we can add them to our profile to almost sort of tailor our profile to match up to the jobs that we're applying for. So great advice. I like that. All right, Tara, we'll see you in a little bit.
Scott, I have something quick to add.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
So for the profile views, I didn't really understand how to use that to expand on your network until somebody actually used it on me. And what I mean by that is I went into somebody's profile, viewed it, they came back and sent me a personalized message saying, hey, I noticed that you viewed my profile. And then they took the time to read mine and found a commonality and said, I see that you're interested in this, and just really connected. And I couldn't even say no to that connection. So I was like, oh, wow, that was really neat. I should really start doing that and try to expand on my network, because I mean, I started off with 0 like all of us do. And you see people that have 500 plus connections and you're like, how on earth do you do that? And I'm still working on mine, but that was an excellent way that I thought that this young man reached out to me, and I started to use the same technique. And we also have a question in the chat by Jasmine, Scott.
Yeah, I'm looking at that while you're talking. Is it better to apply via the direct website through LinkedIn with premium or LinkedIn without premium? So if the vacancy announcement is advertised on LinkedIn, and we're going to get into how to become a referral a little bit later, I would probably say go ahead and apply through the LinkedIn platform, particularly if it is a job slot. If it's a job slot, it's a hot job that they're really trying to fill. If it's a regular posting, it's actually going to take you away from LinkedIn and back to the company website. So really, and you'll see this when we get into applying for jobs. But if it's a hot job, go through the platform. If it's a regular job, it doesn't really matter. It's going to take you to the company website. And really the premium is just going to give you a little bit more insight on the opportunity than if you don't have premium. All of that's going to come together for you. Also, what is really cool about LinkedIn Premium is what we call LinkedIn Learning. And basically, this is access to over 10,000 different courses and workshops that you could watch. And then at the end of it, it will ask you, do you want to add this to your profile? You can be strategic about whether you want to add it or not add it. And once again, we'll kind of look at that a little bit, but the idea that you can get extra training while you're looking for a job and then tell the recruiters or tell your community that you've completed these workshops really kind of establishes your brand. It shows you're continually learning. And it's just only going to be beneficial as you go through this process. What we have here is some workshops that are related to military transition, as well as the final one is understanding in more detail about LinkedIn Premium. But really, you can search anything, customer relations, Excel, project management, you name it, it's out there. But what I like to do is maybe align the classes that you're taking based off of the career direction that you're going. So that way it kind of enhances your brand in your profile and it all sort of comes together. Carla, go ahead.
Oh, Scott, did you know that some federal agencies, they give LinkedIn Learning for free? Like before I activated my premium as a military spouse, my agency, I work for the Department of Agriculture, they have it for everybody. So I've been taking courses way longer than I have premium.
Oh, good. That's good. Yep. Yeah, I know some federal agencies will pay for that. And I think also Coursera, also some federal agencies will pay for you to use Coursera. Any other questions? Perfect. I love this. Okay. So this whole process is really kind of about creating a brand. It may sound weird, but in a roundabout way, you're a commodity that you're trying to sell to a potential company. So that way they will hire or invest in you for the work that you've done in the past, the type of individual that you are, and how that can relate to success for them in the future. So there are different ways that you can do this. For the most part, I'm going to start with the one that's in the middle, and that's going to be your elevator pitch. And this is sort of that time when maybe you're at a job fair, a networking event, or it could even be the very first question in an interview where they say, tell me a little bit about yourself. And you give them this sort of short little spiel about who you are, what you've done, and then what you kind of want to do next. It's sort of in a more verbal type of a format. The one above it is a tagline. And a tagline is a short sentence, maybe a couple of sentences that describe who you are as a person and potentially what you want to do next in your career. Ideally, if you can really make it short, succinct, and to the point, it's going to be a little bit more catchy. If you think about taglines, a lot of times it might start out as something that's a little long. And then as you're massaging it and as you're tweaking it a little bit, it'll be more short and concise. I like a tagline either in your headline or maybe one of the first sentences in your about section. It really is going to paint a picture of who you are, what you do, and why you do it. The next one, the final one that we have down here is what we call a branding statement. And the branding statement is a little bit more of a longer narrative. It's in more of a paragraph type format. And it's sort of a combination of what you did, what you want to do, and then if you could kind of throw any type of accomplishment into it to really grab their attention, that's what we're looking for. In these areas of branding, we really want to make sure that, like I said, we're grabbing their attention so that way they want to jump on and they want to learn more about you as a person and as a professional to go down the path of hopefully finding a job opportunity for you. So it doesn't just start in your profile, but it also moves into how you engage on the platform, the different types of information that you share, the people that you connect with. It all comes together to create this brand for career marketing. Any comments or anything that you've discovered in developing your brand that you would like to share with the people that are joining us today?
Okay.
Yep.
I'll go. Okay. So you're talking about the about section, correct?
A little bit. More than anything, it would be the entire profile. It would be how you work with other people and correspond with other people to define who you are as a person and a professional. So it's sort of more like the holistic aspect of the entire process.
So because I struggle with the about section the most. I've rewritten it probably, I'm not exaggerating, at least 1,000 times. And I don't even know if people read it, honestly. And I've heard so much different advice. Some people say just 4 sentences, and some people say, fill up all the space. So I think that's and a lot of other teachers really struggle with, because we talk too much and write too much. So we need to know do you have like a specific, this is what you should put there, best practice?
Let's talk about it when we get to the about section, and we'll look at some examples, and we'll even look at yours, and we'll get feedback from everybody else as to what they think about it, etc. The one thing I will say is that I feel like LinkedIn is 1 page long, but it's a long scroll. So if we can entice them to click see more in any part of our profile and they want to read it, then we've done what we need to do. If they decide not to, if nothing catches their attention, then they'll just kind of keep scrolling. So I like the idea of having a little bit more. And if a person doesn't want it, they can just scroll right on past it. If they are intrigued by what is written, then they'll take the time to look at it and read it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott,
Yeah, go
question
ahead.
on these 3 areas. So your tagline, I'm assuming you're talking about the couple of lines that you have underneath your name on your profile.
That is correct, as long as it's really short and succinct, because we don't want to eat up too many characters.
Right. And then your elevator pitch, where is that?
So the elevator pitch is a little bit more of a voice narrative, to where when a person says to you, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. That's kind of what you would. So the elevator pitch is sort of based off of, if you're in an elevator with somebody and that person said to you, what do you do for a living? You would be able to provide them with a narrative as to what it is that you do.
Okay, so it's not necessarily something right on my LinkedIn profile. We're talking about having that canned statement.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Whereas
and then the branding statement is not in the about section, but it's the branding.
Yeah, so the branding statement would be more in the about section, because it's a little bit longer. It's sort of a paragraph. It's more in depth than what a tagline would be. So we would probably be looking to put something like that in our about section.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Understand. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start to think about and talk about the banner. And literally after this slide, we're just going to jump into profiles and we're going to discuss the profiles from top to bottom. And then we'll go back to the slides and slowly start to catch up. So the banner is basically the image behind your profile picture. And what I really like is for people to get creative with this. I really think it's one of those things when somebody reaches out to you, whether it's on a phone or on a desktop, it's the one thing that they really kind of get to see. And it should paint a picture of who you are and what you do. I haven't used PicMonkey or Adobe Spark too much. I haven't used them at all, actually. I just basically stick with Canva. I think you can get really original with Canva at no cost to create something that is unique to who you are as a person, and then add that to your profile. Another thing that you can do is you can do a simple Google search, logistics, LinkedIn banner. Digital marketing, LinkedIn banner. Patriotic, LinkedIn banner. So whatever kind of, if you're in St. Louis and you decide that's what you want to use, St. Louis, LinkedIn banner. And then it'll probably be the appropriate size for you to save to your desktop and then go ahead and upload into your profile. So rather than sort of, discussing it, let's take a look. And literally, this is the first one that I opened to because Wendy was trying to get into the workshop. I don't know if you've joined us, Wendy, but we get to pick on you first.
Oh, I am, and I'm so sorry. I apologized yesterday because I just to get on, and I was telling the people at the front desk, I said, I joined this about in 2011. Somebody sent me a message, said, "Hey, this LinkedIn thing is new," and I had no idea what it was, and I was like, "Okay." And when we were walking through it, just the other day in the Airman Family Readiness Center, the lady's like, "Well, the goal is to get 500," and I was like, "Where do you even find that?" And I had no idea, and I looked down and I was like, wow, it's like some sort of miracle. I have like this many people. And again, I have so much work to do and I'm so grateful to be in the class and thank you for the help earlier. But yeah, please, I've been snapshotting all week of the people that, that I like and I admire and the people that other people that have just recently retired that in the same business. And I'm like, okay, I'm making all these notes, but again, grateful to be here. Please tear it apart.
Absolutely. Okay, here we go. So I won't roast you too terribly bad. So the first thing, and we're going to look at a couple of things up here. So right now, let's kind of focus just sort of on this top part. This is what I call above the fold. For those of us that are a little bit older and we used to go buy a newspaper from the sort of vending machine, right? You would just see the top part of the newspaper, the headline, so to speak. And the idea is whatever is in that sort of above the fold, that's going to entice us to want to buy the newspaper, or in this case, entice us to look at more of the individual's LinkedIn profile. So as I look at this banner, immediately I start to think you must like the outdoors a little bit. I would probably think you like nature, but I'm not 100% sure it aligns with your profession, which is fine. The other thing that it might sort of be missing is something a little bit unique about who you are and what you do. Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll look at some others. Let's see here. Let's see, Anna, I've been talking to her this week. So very simple, better you, better all, better up. So in a roundabout way, this is somewhat of a tagline, so to speak. Short, succinct. She has, what I really like about this is I like how the color of the blue is also the background of her profile picture. So they align with each other. If I jump back real quick to Wendy, I can see that she's probably taken this picture in her car, which is probably not the best thing to do. Let's focus on banners before we jump into profile pictures. If we look at, and literally as I pull up people's profiles, feel free to reach out to them. Because if I'm looking at their profile, I have some sort of a relationship with them, and I feel like they're dynamic people that would be beneficial to your network. So as we're looking at profiles, if you have a different tab up, just reach out, say, hey, I'm in a workshop with Scott. We're looking at your profile and I wanted to connect with you. That should do it. So let's look at, I mean, one of my favorites is Phil. He's done a really good job of sort of branding himself in a quirky, unique sort of way. Obviously, once again, really kind of getting creative with what it is that he has put together for his banner. Once again, you can see he's got this sort of color coordination going with the oranges. So you can kind of go that line, fulfilling your journey. He has his tagline there, and it's not necessarily down here in his headline. Let's look at Lenore's. Once again, she's gone with some sort of a tagline with branching bridges and then connecting top talent. And as you can see here, once again, the background is somewhat aligning with the banner. So I like the idea of the colors coming together. Do you want to discuss your thought process as you put together your banner?
Yes, absolutely. So what I wanted to add too is one of the LinkedIn workshops that I attended. The way he put it is your banner is like your billboard, right? If you're driving down the highway and you see the billboards, what is it that stands out to you? The colors. This is your time to use your creativity. And if I look at a banner, I should know exactly, like Scott said, what your profession is. So here I did put it, I know it looks super simple, but I did put a lot of thought into it. And I looked at a lot of other profiles because I wanted to get a good idea of, what font, what color, what's trendy. And I just made it super simple and really wanted to use my last name so I can associate it to my kind of tagline on my banner. So you see my name, what it is exactly that I'm interested in doing. So that's the thought process that I use and applied to my profile.
Awesome. I really like it. I like the coloring. Does anybody else want theirs to be looked at?
Oh yeah, Scott, we had somebody in the chat that
Okay.
said, I believe it was Jasmine.
Oops. Jasmine. I got to scroll down a little bit. Me. Okay. All right. Let's
Jared.
all right.
Jared also volunteered.
All right. Jared. Okay. Just a second.
Jared, or did I say that right? Sorry, Farmer.
It's Gerard, but you're okay. Everybody calls
Okay.
you
Gerard.
All right. All right.
Everybody
long as
messes up
you're-
my name too. So
Okay, I like this. Customer success is the key to everyone's success. So once again, always reach for more. He's gone with sort of a tagline along with this. Once again, if we're kind of combining, let's say, profile picture with image, once again, I think they align with each other. I like that the background behind his profile picture isn't loud and distracting. He, in this case, is wearing a suit. Great picture. So I'm assuming that he would probably be in a profession to where he's comfortable wearing a suit to work. But I like this. I like that you kind of have an airplane or a rocket or something kind of shooting for the sky. So it all aligns together. Okay, we're gonna go to Carla. And Carla, I think, recently changed hers for the month, which is amazing. I actually like the idea of switching it up a little bit, kind of keeping it unique and fresh. Once again, this just kind of tells me really what her passion is about. Obviously, military children. So I think that this is great. And I like this in the background. Did you have this before, but it's sort of in a different way?
No, I did it for the because the plant, the flower, and
Okay.
I found it on Canva. I put it together. I'm not a designer. I tried.
No, but that's okay. I mean, the thing is that you don't have to be a designer to put together something that looks nice and appealing. And I think you've done
Canva is
that.
pretty good.
I'm down with it. All right, so next, real quick, let's look at Kelly. Hi, Kelly. It's great to see you. So I actually like Kelly's a lot, and I'm going to tell you why. So now that we're having this discussion, talking wise, I really think like I don't mind your name being here, but I think I would have like a tagline or a quote that resonates with you. I think something like that would probably be a little bit more appealing. And I don't mind actually having your Gmail in here as well, because then I don't necessarily have to search for it. But what I really like with what you've done, because we were just talking about this yesterday, is literally yesterday she used to have the outdoors behind her. So it was a green type setting. But what I like is how you put this banner around your profile picture, and it collaborates with what you have over here. So I think it's all really succinct with each other. But my recommendation would probably be have a quote or a tagline.
Okay. Yeah, I was able to do all of it on Canva, and it was a lot easier than I thought to do. And making the circle around, I was able to do on Canva also. I watched like a small YouTube video, and it took like 2 minutes after that, but it was pretty easy.
It looks great. It'll definitely pop as you're reaching out to connect with people.
Yeah, this looks a lot better. I thank you for your advice. I don't know if I would have chosen to do it like specifically like that unless someone had really steered me in the right direction that way. So it looks so much better than it did yesterday.
It
Thank
does.
you.
It does. Yep. Okay. Angela. Angeline, sorry. And we're not even connected yet, so we got to connect with each other.
That's not me.
Oh, because I was like, wait.
Well, I didn't know. Yeah,
Let's see.
yeah,
All
that's
right,
not me.
all right. Let me. Angeline.
That's interesting. Apparently there's more than one.
Obviously,
Oh, I'm the
there's-
second one.
There's more of one of you. So where are you from?
Los Angeles,
Okay, so
but
are you-
I don't know if I put that in there. No, it's right here. I'm the second one.
Are you the rapper
LCSW.
songwriter?
No. I'm the LCSW.
Okay, all right. I'm just playing.
That'd be interesting though.
Right. Okay. So when I look at this when I look at your banner, I'm definitely thinking you're in the space of once again sort of social working, something working with the mind, etc.
Yes.
So I'm seeing that. The one thing that there's not much room to do is add any type of print. So that's kind of up to you if you feel like you want print or need print. It's not like mandatory that you need to have, but I think here once again, how it's a little bit distracting, the backdrop.
Okay,
of your profile picture. So literally just jump on Canva and you
Okay.
can remove that. And I would probably go with something, maybe a little bit of a muted brown, or, something that aligns with what you have as your banner.
okay.
So yeah, so far so good. And then we're going to talk about the headline in a little bit.
Thank you.
One more, Deborah and Morton. I didn't do that right, did I? It's Deb, not Dab. Is this her, Gerard? Is this one that we're supposed to be looking at?
Yeah, that's me.
Yes.
Okay, hi. So thanks for joining us. I love this a lot.
Oh,
I
good.
like the idea of the light bulb, and I think it's really kind of quirky how it's almost coming from your mind. Was that the goal?
That was the goal. Yes, that took
Yeah.
a little playing.
So I like that, and I'm picking up on it. Another thing that I really like is how you have some skill sets here that align probably with your profession and what you do. So yeah, I think this is good.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, great job. So hopefully, this kind of gives everybody an idea to bring out their inner creativity, to just have fun with your banner. And like Lenore said, think of it as a billboard. Think of it as you're driving down the interstate and there's something that kind of really grabs your attention and it makes you want to know more about that industry, or in this case, about that professional. So now, as we morph over into the profile picture, once again, for Debbie, she's got a great smile. I'm kind of wondering if, and I'd be willing to take anybody else's feedback on this, if maybe your backdrop could be something a little bit more grayish. Not like a dark gray, because I want to be able to see you, but just something maybe not so white.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah. It's because then it'll align a little bit more with your banner. Obviously, we saw Kelly's. Kelly's look, I really like what she's done with hers. Once again, it's a smile. We looked at Gerard's, he's in a tie. Carla, she had to step out for a little bit. Once again, this is, looking good. What I'm really concerned about in our profile picture is, are you somebody I want to get to know? Are you presentable? Do you look friendly? And is there distraction in the background that would maybe take away from the professionalism of the picture? So I love Stacy to death, but her background is kind of odd. It's almost like I can tell she did it on Zoom and she was using a filter in the background to make it work. But I would probably go with something a little bit more solid. I don't even know who Autumn is. But with Autumn, as I look at it, I can see she probably used a stock photo. And then the background is also a little bit distracting. However, I don't have a problem with the picture at all, because I feel like, she's smiling, she's approachable, and that's kind of what we want to see. And I noticed there was some discussion before. For those of us that are in the Scott Air Force Base area and you are military affiliated, Jennifer Grayson will do a free headshot for you in our local area. If you are a military spouse or a military member or a veteran, the other thing that you can look at is Portraits for Patriots. And I know that was in the discussion box already. So, go ahead and take advantage of that. Any comments? I know if we go back to Lenore.
Actually, yes. Can I add a little
Absolutely,
my
yes.
short story here?
Yes,
So my
please
very
do.
first picture, after looking at YouTube videos, I didn't want to spend a lot of money taking a headshot. So I made my husband go with me to the St. Louis area and just be surrounded by buildings. I thought that would be a really cool picture. It was freezing out and it was miserable. And the only good picture we got was with the car in the background. So I just went with it. I used that. But I got some really good feedback from Scott. And after a little bit, he said, "Hey, how about getting rid of that background?" And I knew that car looked dumb in the back. So once I had that honest feedback, he offered to remove it using Canva, because you have to have some type of membership, I believe, because I can't do it.
Right.
But I really do need to invest in Canva to be able to do that. So that was my first picture. And then once I did something different with my banner, I said, I need more color. I need to show what I look like right now. And that's when I put this picture up. Just thought it showed my personality using a brighter color shirt, and thought it went well with my banner. Now, I did reach out to Portraits for Patriots, and they don't have any here in the St. Louis area, but they do have one in Chicago area. So he was super lenient as far as booking an appointment, but I just hadn't made it out this way yet. I'm from Chicago. I'm actually here right now, but it wasn't planned. But I know that option is there, and I'm really looking forward to using it. So my recommendation is, if you want to use Portraits for Patriots, reach out to the organization and see which one's closest to you. And if you have to make a trip out of it, it just really depends on what you're willing to do.
Awesome. All right. Any other sort of questions on that area? And we'll look at more profile pictures as we look at different types of profiles. But if we don't have any questions, then we should be pretty well good to go.
One of the things, Scott, also
Yeah.
using if you have an iPhone, the portrait option, those take really good pictures. And I've seen a lot of people use that.
Yeah, I mean, once again, sure, it would be awesome if you can get a professional headshot, but really, you do not need to invest money into going out and finding paying somebody to do that. If you have friends that are pretty good at, like you said, using an iPhone, then have them take the picture for you. So with that said, more than anything to me is, I want you to smile, I want you to look approachable, and I want you to look friendly. That's how I see it. Yeah, Kelly actually put in a really good post that remove.bg is another site that you can use if you do not have Canva Premium, to go ahead and remove whatever it is behind you. So thank you, Kelly, for putting that out there.
Yeah, it'll actually just give you the photo with, it looks like static almost in the background when you download it, but then you can just upload that onto Canva. And when you upload that picture from remove.bg on Canva, you'll click upload and it'll be right there. And there'll be nothing behind you. It'll be cut already for you. And it was really quick and free.
Okay, so do you use that first before you went to Canva?
Right. So I
Okay.
used the photo that had all the greenery in the background, and I uploaded that to remove.bg, and it just took it away in the back. I didn't need to cut it. It did it all for me. And then I uploaded that onto my computer, and then I went on Canva from there. So I didn't have to pay for anything on Canva to do that.
Perfect. And literally, I have Canva Premium. So if anybody has any stumbling blocks, just shoot me a quick message. Hey, Scott, do you mind removing the background of my profile picture? I'll download it. I'll remove that, and then I'll send it back to you. So that way it's done. Take me 10 minutes to do it. So the next thing that we're going to talk about then is your last name. And I know you're kind of like, well, Scott, why are we talking about my last name? Well, let me tell you, when you do a search on LinkedIn, it assumes you're searching for somebody's name. So a sort of a hack potentially is by having either a certification, a degree, or even a strong skill set after your last name for it to populate. So if I go up into my search engine right here and I just type in PMP, we can see here everybody that has PMP after their last name will be populating first in my search engine. So if we look at this one, for example, and we will discuss, I am not the biggest fan of alphabet soup. I probably would have picked 2 or 3 of them that I feel like a recruiter would most likely be searching for versus having a lot of different ones. If we look at another, here, Eddie, and like literally right now, if you're not connected to Eddie, you got to be connected to Eddie. He's an amazing individual. Lenore can account for it. Anybody that's had a conversation with him, he's amazing. Reach out and connect with him. And I'm sure he's going to be texting me, hey, Scott, you must be doing a LinkedIn workshop right now. He's just a great guy. He put a little smiley face after his last name. And here's what's kind of cool about that. Whenever I tag him in a post, that little smiley face is there. So if he's tagged with a lot of other people, his name is going to pop out a little bit more than anybody else's because he's got that smiley face there. Yeah, thanks, Gerard, for doing that. Yeah, if we scroll down to Eddie's down here, optimize your LinkedIn profile. Great read, highly recommend taking a look at it. If we even go look at mine, I have my certifications after my name, but I have a star here. So once again, if I'm tagged with a lot of different people, mine will stick out a little bit more because I have the star. However, people can kind of delete all of that. If we look at Judy's, Judy has the light bulbs here. And what she did with hers is she put the light bulb in front of her first name, which means if I tagged her in a post and I deleted all of her certifications and her last name, that light bulb would still be there because her first name is there. And then she would pop out a little bit more. If we look at Jason Boone, he went ahead and he used a unique font to go after his last name. So once again, if he's tagged in something, his name will stand out over everybody else's. Any questions on your last name?
So Scott, so basically this one goes with the algorithm and then just puts you at the top, correct?
For like just a real quick sort of search. Now, if I hit return and then I go to people, the next area, which would be number 2 in search engine optimization, is your headline. So as I can see here, after I did my search of people, everybody that has PMP in their headline, well, this one here has his past position, which is a little bit weird. But for the most part, everybody that has it in their headline is going to populate. So this is why your headline is so important for it to be keyword rich. And if I go back, I'll go back to you, my friend. So we're going to kind of morph over to our headline. And what he has here is really kind of keywords that are related to the direction I'm assuming you're going in your career. I would probably say you use the word manager too much. Maybe coordinator, leader, advocate, something to kind of mix it up so that way not everything is a manager. I'd probably make that change there. I like that it's not too terribly long. Some of them can really get kind of long-winded. Let's look at, since Lenore is here, we'll go back to hers. We had this discussion just the other day when we were talking about our workshop. I like that she put this first and human resources. So she sort of rack and stack them in order of maybe what means the most to her or what brings her the most passion. So once again, she's kind of taken that approach. If we go look at Nadia, and once again, everybody should connect with Nadia. She's an amazing human being also. She's also kind of gone with keywords, and instead of using a pipe bar, she used sort of like an arrow type of a thing. And then also this, what you want to put in your headline, also take a look at your industry. What are the buzzwords in my industry that I believe a recruiter would be looking for if they were searching for talent? And this is what you want in your headline. If we go to mine, I've taken a little bit of a different approach. Mine is a little bit more geared toward branding statements versus taglines. Once again, I'm sort of in a space where I'm not looking for employment. And you can also see I used emojis. Once again, I would probably say if I was in the arena of looking for a job, I'd probably take out the emojis and add skill sets to maybe appear a little bit more professional versus having fun. But once again, it's really up to you and your personality level. Anybody want their headline reviewed and suggestions offered for their headline?
This is Wendy again. I just have a question about the animation. I saw where yours, I don't know where you, oh, not to look at mine because mine's terrible. Like I said, I created it. But
Yeah.
no, on yours, when I saw when you clicked on it, it had some animation too. Is that something that you can do on LinkedIn, or is that something you have to import in to make that feature happen?
So what happens is if I scroll down a little bit further down here, under resources, you can turn on what we call creator mode. And when you turn on creator mode, you then have that ability to record a video if you wanted to. I would probably not recommend turning on creator mode if you are sort of in the job search process, or if you're not necessarily a content creator per se. So in that case, I would probably say not necessarily worry about it. I do love the idea of creating some sort of a video format to kind of see you, hear you talk about your story. But if you do that, I would put it in your featured section and not necessarily up here when we open up your profile. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
Scott?
Yes. Yes,
Okay, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. So I feel like I'm competing against everyone who is pretty experienced on LinkedIn. Uh-oh.
You're fine.
Okay. So for the tagline on my, like, where does it go one more time? Because my page needs a lot of help, but I
What
just
is
want to
your
make
act-
sure
what-
that
What is your
I'm
actual
not
name?
doing it.
What is your name so I can look you up?
Oh, Kenyatta Guy.
I'm just gonna look up Guy. There you are. Okay, yep. So yeah, I remember you were in my workshop a while ago. So once again, we kind of talked about how you're going to, take care of this, a little bit more of a close-up type picture. Obviously the banner will come together as you look at other pictures or other banners to get an idea as to what, is going to kind of work best with yourself. But here, for your headline, your tagline could go here, but I would probably focus a little bit more on your skill sets and what it is that you're looking for after you leave the service. So if I scroll down and I look at your experience section, I'm assuming maybe it would be office administration, customer service, those types of, maybe personnel management, human resources. Those are probably the words that I would have in this area.
Okay.
Okay. And once again, as we're looking at other pictures, you're going to get a better idea as to what will probably work best for you to have underneath your name in your headline.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Keep asking questions. Let's see here. Go to, let's look at, since she's here. Once again, with the banner, if I had a suggestion with the banner, I would probably try to move this over a little bit to the right. So that way I can see how to contact you and it's not backed up by your profile picture. You can just sort of adjust it a little bit, everything a little bit to the right. She went with pipe bars. What I really like about her headline here is she has a good combination of skill sets, but yet she has her tagline also. Anyone can tell you how, I can show you how. That's teaching. That's a great tagline. I love that. And then O&O is actually open to new opportunities, which is a tagline that recruiters will sometimes search because they know that that person is able to go to work immediately. They're not a passive candidate, they're an active candidate. So I really like this, and I like that you didn't overuse the emojis. You just put one emoji. I think that's pretty cool. Another thing that we could talk about real quick is this open to work. I'm actually a fan of having the open to work banner in your profile picture if you're looking for opportunities. I don't believe that it's a negative trait. I think as people are scrolling rapidly looking for candidates, when they see that green banner, once again, they know you're ready to go to work right away. They don't have to worry about a 2-week notice. They don't have to worry about outdoing the company that you already work for. It's telling them that I'm ready to go to work. If you are active duty, I would probably turn that open to work on about 6 months prior to you ready to go to work. That time could be when you're on terminal leave. That time could be when you separate or retire, or that time could be after a 6-month hiatus. Whenever you're 6 months prior to starting a new job, put in that open to work. Let's see here. Let's look at Brandy's real quick. I think Brandy did a really good job with her headline. And we might bounce back to hers also when we talk about the about section. The one thing about hers is it's kind of weird how it kind of went all the way across. I'm wondering if she put keeper of the clean inbox, which I think is brilliant. It's creative and it's insightful and it's kind of fun. But I'm wondering if she put that in front of the overthinking, if then the proven ability to rise to the top would then be on the second line. That might look a little bit better. But what she's done as well is she's kind of gone with a little bit more of a statement approach versus a keyword approach. Now, is there one that's better than the other? It's really kind of hard to say, but keep in mind that when you reach out to somebody, this is what they're going to see above and beyond the message that you send to them requesting to connect. Any questions on a headline? Awesome. All right. Let's keep on going down since we're here. This is kind of unique. For some people, it seems like the featured section is above the about section, but for others, it's like the about section comes first. And I haven't quite figured out if that is something that you can arrange or if it's something that LinkedIn does. We're going to step away from Brandy's for a moment, and we're going to go to Carla. Carla, are you back?
I am.
Okay, we're going to look at your about section.
Okay, sorry, I was chewing my lunch.
Okay, enjoy. So even with Carla here, her featured section is above the about section. Let me go over to one more real quick. Let me do mine, because now I'm starting to get curious. Where's mine in this process? I think my about section is first. No, my featured section is first. Okay. All right. So we'll talk about the featured section because that's sort of the next part of your LinkedIn profile. The featured section is really kind of a nice way to add a visual impact to your LinkedIn profile. And this can be done by adding content that you have created. It could be done by looking at articles that might relate to the profession that you're going into, and then adding it to the featured section. So number one, the first thing, if you do not have the featured section in your profile, simply what you do is you do add profile section, and then you can go down to additional, and then you can add featured. And then once you've done that, it'll be right here. And then you can hit the plus button and you can add a post. This would be something that you created. You can add an article, which would be something that you might find externally that aligns with your profession. You can add a link, which once again will populate the image of the link that you shared, or you can add media. So there's a lot of different ways that you can add content into this area. We go back to Carla's. She's taken a couple of things of the content that she has created and added it there. Obviously, we are doing a big push to help her get on with Google. So if you guys can support us with the process of helping her get on with Google, we would greatly appreciate it. But as you can see here, these images, they just add sort of a pop of color. And the other nice thing about it as you create your own content, eventually that stuff will start to get buried. But if you put it in your featured section, then it's there forever for people to stumble across and see. Let's go look at Nadina. She's done a great job with her featured section. So as you can see, this is stuff that she has done. It looks like, are these posts that are on LinkedIn that you have made? I will say yes. Gerard, do you have anything in your featured section? We'll see.
I still, no, I don't. I still have to work on it.
Okay,
You
yep.
called me out.
Okay,
I
that's
still
all
gotta
right.
work
That's
on
all
it.
right. Most of the people probably don't have anything in a featured section, but it definitely kind of gives you something to think about and work with. As once again, if we go back to Eddie, Eddie has an amazing featured section. And what I like about Eddie's featured section is see how he's kind of gone with the color blue. If we go down to his featured, everything is sort of aligns with the same sort of color palette. So always kind of keep that in mind also. Let me show you somebody else. So Madeline is obviously she's looking for something in the realm of logistics. As far as her headline, she has a lot of skill sets added into it. And then if we go down to her actual banner, or I mean her featured section, these aren't anything that she has written, but it's stuff that she has found that once again kind of aligns with her brand and the process that she's going next in her career. And then she just uploaded them there. And as you can see, they're links. So they're uploaded links instead of content that she created on herself, by herself. So you don't necessarily have to create your own content to make that happen. One other thing that I noticed about her that you can do, and I've actually done as well, you could actually have the way you pronounce your name, you do it through your phone. And then what can happen is if you have that sort of unique name that people don't quite know how to say, you can add it here, and then people will know exactly how to address you properly. It's a 10-second voice recording that you can offer. So if you were to listen to mine, it's more than just my name. I actually have added my tagline into sort of a speech type format. So this is something really kind of unique that you can do also. Any questions on the featured section? See, now with hers, her about section is above her featured section. So I'm not quite sure why it's like that for some and not for others. But either way, it doesn't really quite matter. If we look at her about section, what I like about it is that it's sort of broken into chunks. It's really kind of quick and easy to read. She's got some information that's in bold, and she's definitely used color bullets to kind of bring in a little bit of a flair to her about section as well. With hers, she has some accomplishments put into this area to really kind of show the people looking at her about section the great work that she's done. She has her career progression. And then she also kind of has what makes me tick. So these would be the types of things that really kind of motivates her to do a better job. We'll go back to Carla because I like Carla's.
I like it too, Scott.
We agree on that, right? So if we go down to her about section, once again, you know, she's got a little bit of a cursive font to it. She's got a lot of keywords in here. The phrase, "that's not my job," is not in my vocabulary. Maybe you could make that bold so it pops a little bit more. I like the idea that, you know, big picture, you got that bolded. And then she's got some skill sets in here that are kind of unique to her. But if I looked at it, I would probably be like, oh, I'm into that as well. Maybe it's Carl Sagan books, or maybe it's sushi. Something along those lines that is sort of unique to who you are. Because what this does is it allows us to have commonality. And Lenore mentioned this earlier, having commonality with other people allows us to break barriers faster and develop friendships. And as we develop friendships with people on this platform, the more likely they are to want to reach out and help us. So another one that I really like, look at Holly's. Holly's not with us today. She's another person I'd highly recommend that you reach out and connect with. She has her life philosophy. She has her visions, goals, a little bit of her background, her cores and competencies, and then what she plans on doing in the future. And then once again, a way that you can reach out to connect with her. One more that I really kind of like. Kaylin. So if we go to her about section, she has who I am, what's important to me. Oops, sorry about that. And what I'm up to. And once again, as we look at what I'm up to, you know, she has sourdough, embroidery, gardening, and Pokemon evolution. So once again, like if I'm looking at her profile, and I'm like, oh, I'm into gardening. I automatically have something I can talk to her about that we can relate to. And then from there, we can move into the professional aspect of our conversation. So this is the one area of your profile that I really kind of want you to have fun with. Let's look at Lenore's. And then I'll let you discuss, okay? Give us the insight as to what you're thinking when you put this together.
Hi, yes. So I still have to go back and do a little bit of changes there, but the last paragraph there, I like it when I see a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? But like a person, right? Like some interest. So I did add, you know, I love outdoors and I love seeing the sunrise and I'm from Chicago. Love to, but, you know, just try to add a little bit of humor on there. I'm not very funny, but I'm trying. And just said on there, you know, if you're looking for a place to eat pizza, don't ask me. I enjoy going home and eating mi familia's cooking. So just want to add that on there. But for me, what's helped is when I have an interview, I'll go in and start looking the people up because they're added onto your calendar invite when you're set up for interviews. So what worked for me is I would go and search the person, read their about section, and just put a name to the face. And that put me a little bit at ease. So that way, by the time we got into our Zoom call, I was like, okay, I already feel like I know a little bit about this person and I can even mention something about what I found in common. So that's helped me out a lot in preparation for interviews. Scott, I do have to jump off for a little bit, and I'll jump back on later. One other thing I want to mention, I've started to send out connection invites, but I did notice a couple people that connection option isn't there. So it was Angeline, and I don't know, maybe you know, Scott, as to why that is,
Mhm.
but it might be like a creator mode or something like that. I just don't want that to affect, their networking if that connection option isn't there.
Absolutely. Let's go back up. We'll take a little bit of a pause and let's kind of talk about that. Yeah, so you can set it up to where when you go into creator mode, and this is kind of one of the reasons why I don't like creator mode turned on for individuals that are beginning to build their profile and their network. When you turn on creator mode, our only option, unless you go the roundabout way, is to follow you. The problem with following is you are not searchable in my network, so to speak. I'm trying to explain this properly, and then I'm gonna try to find somebody that might have it turned on. So she has connect. She has connect. He has connect. So a lot of times it's people that have like a big network, they have it turned on to follow. But if this says follow, just go over to where it says more, and then you would be able, instead of it being follow here, it would say connect. Then you would be able to connect with that individual. So if yours is sort of set up to be followed, I like the idea of connecting with people. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later. You can have 30,000 connections on LinkedIn. If a person is just following you, you cannot search for them in your network. But when they are in your network, because you've connected with them, they are now searchable. And I like my people in my network for me to be able to search for them. So that's why I advise you to connect with people over following them.
Scott,
Yeah, go ahead.
I put my content creator mode on so I can do the hashtag, the video and whatnot. What I do every time I see people following me, I go, because we can see it, right?
Yep.
I go there and say, hey, I know you follow me. Let's connect, blah, blah.
I do the exact same thing. So if we go look at mine real quick, and we're kind of a little bit jumping ahead, but if I go look at my followers, and this is what Carla's saying, I can see here the people that have followed me, but we're not connected yet. So literally I'll reach out to Angeline later and say, hey, thank you for following me. I think it would be much better if we're connected together. Let's connect. And then literally I'll copy that message and I'll go to everybody else that has followed me and I'll just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. And then, within a matter of minutes, I've connected with all 5 of these people. But with that said, all you need to do is do the drop down in the more section and then connect with those people. All right. Any questions about your about section?
Hey, Scott, can you maybe go back 1 second? I'm trying to find where you see who is following you.
Okay, sure. So if you, I'm gonna go like all the way back. So if we go, we're kind of like, we see our wall and then we click on ourselves over here. It should say how many followers you have and then 500 plus connections.
So mine just has connections.
So what happens if you click on, and maybe this is once again the difference between being in creator mode and not creator mode. I really kind of don't quite know.
Okay.
Does anybody that doesn't have creator mode, are you only seeing your connections or are you seeing both followers and connections?
God, it's my understanding that you only get the follower piece when you are in creator mode. And that also, because you're saying you're creating content, is why your featured items are above the other piece that you mentioned earlier.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. And that's kind of a good way to know kind of if a person's in creator mode. Okay. I like that. The other thing that's part of a profile that I often pay attention to, particularly if if you look under maybe activity, it might say how many followers you have. Take a look at that. If you go into your profile and then you scroll down to activity, it might show a hyperlink to those people that are following you. Eric, you have a question?
Yeah, it kind of leads into the next section of experience in combination with the about section.
Yes.
I'm a career changer and my previous profile was deleted by hackers. So I'm rebuilding it. And I've been told that you only want to use 10 years of experience in the experience field. So is the about section somewhere, an area that I can basically summarize the remainder of what's on my 2-page resume?
Absolutely, yes. So like if there's something that happened in your career prior to those 10 years that you want to make people aware of without telling them the time frame that it happened, put it in your about section.
But what if that experience is directly related to the type of job that I was looking for?
If there is a way that you could combine it in your about section and your experience, I would probably do that. But if it's not part of the chronological aspect of your work history to where it would fall in place, then I'd probably put it in my about section.
Would that change what, because when recruiters look at your profile, are they going to look more like at the experience section, or because they have very little time, obviously.
Right.
So because my last 10 years have been, well, last 8 out of 9 have been in live productions, and that's not the direction that I'm trying to go now. I'm trying to go IT or use my administrative background from the military to do something else.
Okay.
And all of that is over 10 years old. So how do I take that relatively ancient skill set to bring it forward onto it so a recruiter will actually see it in their search?
Yeah, so to me, I believe that once again, it goes up into the about section. Or, I mean, the thing is you're absolutely right. So even if you decided to do 20 years of experience in your experience section, odds are they're not going to keep clicking to go all the way down to look at what you did 15 years ago, right?
Exactly.
So you have to find a way to market that, which would then be probably in the top part of your about section, or looking at transitional skills that you have that happened currently and bringing them into the forefront under your experience. So let's say, for example, even though you're in a different industry now, and we're talking about technology, if there was ever a time where you had to purchase software or you had to update computer equipment or anything along those lines, even sort of something you did at home, just bringing that to the forefront is what you kind of want to do.
Right. Okay.
And I mean, of course, that's something that we can have a deeper conversation on sort of offline and kind of take a look at visually how we can make that stand out a little bit more. Obviously, that's something that we can totally do.
Okay. How can I connect to you to do that?
just send me a message on LinkedIn and we'll set up
Okay.
some time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So with that said, the next part is the experience section. And with the experience section, this is probably the one place to where I'm totally fine with having the content that's in your resume also part of the content that is in your LinkedIn profile as well. This is the area that is really going to look like your resume. It will read job description. It will read accomplishments. It's basically done chronologically. Once again, going back about 10 years. But if you are to even just sort of get started, go ahead and copy and paste what is in your resume into this section. I'm totally fine with that. The one thing I really want you to be aware of is, do the dates and job titles align with each other? Sometimes what I've seen as I'm kind of helping my clients is I look at their resume and even a month being off. Like say for this example here that we're looking at, she put July 2021 to November 2021 in her resume. They don't align with each other. We really want to make sure that they are succinct. If the content is exactly the same, then that's fine. The one thing that you have the option of doing in the experience section of your LinkedIn profile versus your resume is having more information than what's in your resume. It's sort of the opportunity to tell them a little bit more about what it is that you have done, whereas in a resume, you don't have much space to tell them everything that you have done. So you could certainly add it here. If we go look at, trying to think of somebody else that might have a good experience section. Kaylin said she worked on hers, so let's go look at hers real quick and see what she put. So once again, going with bullets. Hers is really kind of short and succinct. She looks like she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets plus a couple of things under awards and recognition, which I like how they're kind of separated. The one thing that we have is, once again, a lot of different types of numbers to kind of really give us an idea of scope and responsibility. So this is sort of the direction that I would like you to go as you're doing your experience section. Try to think of one more. This is just a random. So as you can see here, while he was in the Marines, he put together some sort of a job description, but then for his most recent positions, he didn't do that. Obviously not a big fan of that. What did you do yours, Carla? Let's see. Go down to her experience section. So she's got some job description here. She's got some accomplishments. She has some quantitative information in here with 2 budgets for $20 million. And then she has some results. If we look at her experience in recruiting, there's even more quantitative information, which is all good. So this is basically what we're looking for here. Increased customer satisfaction by 70%. So this is really kind of what we're looking for in an experience section. So good job with that.
Thank you. I just want to say something. I have a friend that works in Meta, Scott, and he was telling me that those big companies are big on titles. And the reason, even though in the Army, I was an HR specialist as a soldier, I put the work that I done in one of my assignments, which was workforce planning, because I was looking for I applied for a job at Meta, the first interview that I done, I don't remember if I told you, within that area of HR. Now, I'm applying for recruiters, even though I was a DEC in the Army and my title was Human Resources Specialist. I put recruiter because it was recruiting. You know how the federal side is different, right? There's no such a thing as recruiter PD. So I put recruiter because that's what I done.
Yeah.
So they don't want to, they told me like, what's HR specialist? What did you do? Were you a HRP? Were you a recruiter? What were you? What does that mean? So what I want to say is research the company and trying to match the job title to be more civilian friendly, if I can say that.
You're 100% correct. I totally agree with that. If we go look at mine, even what I've done with my most recent job title, I don't even have my job title, my official job title in my experience section. My official job title for the Air Force is Community Readiness Consultant. That's a big scope of things, everything from financial readiness to military relocation to personal work life, employment, TAP, etc. But my primary job is the employment program manager. And that's what I want to be recognized as to my community on LinkedIn. But then I also added a couple of other things to it as well: transition specialist, facilitator, and counselor. And then down here, even for my part-time job that I do at night, guest service ambassador, usher, and customer service and community relations. So in your title, you can add more keywords into this area, because this is actually, as we keep talking about search engine optimization, number 3 in search engine optimization for the LinkedIn platform. So with that said, I would go ahead and add a couple of things. If we look at Brian Klubal, let's see how he did his experience section. So once again, you know, he has several different titles kind of added to it. The one thing that he did in his resume is he actually had his military title and then he civilianized it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of go in this area to really tell people what it is that you do before you actually get into the job description. So as you can see here, he has first sergeant. And for those that are familiar with the military, probably know what a first sergeant is. And then once again, for those of you that have nothing to do with the military, you have no idea what a first sergeant means. So we have to explain that to our civilian counterparts so they get a better understanding of what it is that you have done. But in the gist of everything, it's broken down in bullet statements, it's chunked, it's quick and easy to read. And this is ideally the way we want our narrative to look as we're putting together this section. Any questions on your experience? Sweet. All right, we're going to keep going down. Next is your education. This is the one that is going to be really quick for us to go through. Literally, I would put sort of all of my degrees here except my high school. If you have any type of college, you don't need to put your high school in here. So just remove that. Other than that, if you have an associate's degree or if you have a bachelor's degree, master's degree, I would add any type of formal education into this area. Next is license and certifications. So this part is really interesting, and I really want you to take a strategic approach to this area. So with Brian has some pretty, what we consider to be heavy hitting certs. So he has them posted there. If we go over and we take a look at somebody else, and we'll go back to Eddie. Let's scroll on down to his license and certs. So with Eddie, he doesn't have any professionally recognized certifications. So what he's done instead is he's taken all of his LinkedIn learning and he's added them to his profile. So what I'm saying is, because you don't have the ability to move certs up and licensures up and down in the profile, if you have heavy hitting licensures or heavy hitting certs, do not add your LinkedIn learning to your profile. If you do not have them, then do all the LinkedIn learning that you possibly can and add them to your profile. As you can see here, as we look at Eddie's license and certs, we can see here everything is somewhat related to the recruiting, personal branding, talent, interviewing, etc. So when I look at Eddie's profile, I'm like, oh, look at all this training he has. He must be a really good recruiter, right? So go back to our good friend Carla, because I'm having fun picking on you today. What do you have in your license and certifications?
I don't even know.
LinkedIn Learning, see? She's done it exactly the way that we would want it to be done. So really, like, you can do a free month trial of LinkedIn Learning. I would take advantage of that free month trial just to do as many different workshops in LinkedIn Learning that align with your profession, because as we look at this, I can see recruiter, human resources, Salesforce, which is huge, talent sourcing. All of this aligns with the direction that she wants to go. But here's the drawback. And in APHR, I'm not quite sure how relevant that is to the industry. It's kind of popular, but this is the point I'm trying to make, is that it got moved all the way down to the bottom because of all of her LinkedIn learning. So strategically, you need to decide which one is most advantageous to market, because most likely people aren't going to hit see more to see that she has this cert. So to overcome it, what I probably would do if I was her, and if she feels like it's really relevant, I would probably have it in her headline or up in her about section. So that way it still stands out and it still tells people that she has that cert.
Yeah, the reason that I didn't mind, I had like Carla Fortunia, Coma, APHR, but since it's just associate in PHR,
yeah,
I was like, I don't even mind, since I'm working on the PHR itself. When I do the PHR, then I'm gonna do Coma PHR. So it stands out even more.
Exactly. And are you gonna do that through Onward Opportunity?
Yes.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, good, good, good.
Would you put in progress works here too?
Yes, I would. Absolutely.
Because I've finished the training courses, but I haven't taken the exams yet. So would that be an in progress type situation?
Yeah, or you'd call yourself a candidate. PMP candidate. PHR candidate. You know, so that's the way that I would put it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, but yes. You guys still hear me? All right. So that's license inserts. If we scroll back, go back. The next area that we're looking at will be our skills and endorsement. So what you want to do is you want to put up to 50 skills that align with your profession that people can endorse you for. And typically speaking, your top 3 skills are what are seen, and those are more likely the skills that somebody would endorse you for. So if you're actively looking for employment, I would have my top 3 skills that align with my profession, with the hopes that somebody will endorse you for those skills. And what'll happen is I will kind of go through these, and like literally some nights as I'm visiting people's profiles, I'll just randomly endorse them for skills, just because I think that's a great way to pay it forward. So stakeholder engagement, I know Carla is really good with engaging people. I'm not 100% sure how she is at budgeting. I'd like to think that she's pretty good with it because she has the crypto up in her about section. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll endorse her for stakeholder engagement.
In my, you can do budget because my day type job, I take care of my people's my section $20 million budget.
Okay, you sold
And I'm
me.
pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you good at
And they
workforce
haven't
management?
been, and
Are
they
you good at
haven't filed for
workforce management?
bankruptcy yet.
Okay, so there we go. So I just endorsed her for 3 things. She's going to get a notification that says Scott just endorsed you for workforce management, budget management, and stakeholder engagement. The thought is she's going to be so happy that I did this. She's going to go back into my profile and she's going to endorse me for some skills as well. So it's sort of like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type of a thing. But what it does is, and I've been doing this for a long time, so my skills that are endorsed is doing pretty good. But if we go down to my skills and endorsements, when you see 99 plus for career development, you're probably like, all right, if more than 99 people endorse Scott for career development, he must be pretty good at this. So it really kind of solidifies your skills in a certain area. Plus, this also populates in search engine optimization for recruiters as well. Now, what was discussed earlier, when we look at applying for jobs, it will tell you in the job announcement if you have those skills in your LinkedIn profile. And if you don't, then you can certainly add them. So my suggestion is do not populate it with 50 skills, populate it with 30 skills. That gives you 20 to add to align with the jobs that you're seeing and applying for through the job board. I hope that makes sense to everybody. But bottom line, what I want you to do is put 20 skills, and as you start to add skills, I'm maxed out at 50. But what it'll do is it'll give you suggestions of skills to add to it. And then you can start to type in and it will pick up keywords that you could add to your skills as well. But definitely, I would say 30 skills is where you want to be at. And then you can add 20 more as you're applying for jobs. Any questions on skills and endorsements? Awesome. Next is recommendations. I highly recommend getting recommendations. Do not be afraid to reach out to people that you have worked with, you have supervised, or have supervised you to say, hey, I'm in this process of looking for employment. I'm in this process of doing a career pivot. It would really be beneficial to my LinkedIn profile if you provided me a recommendation. Do you mind talking about ABCD, whatever it might be, a project that you worked on in the past, something that you remember that you did for them, help them with the process of writing this recommendation, and then let them tweak it a little bit more. All right. This is going to add a lot to your profile. A lot of recruiters will actually scroll down to this area to see what other people think of you as a person and a professional. So really take stock in it and really put some effort into it as well. Another thing I would highly recommend is giving somebody a recommendation, because sometimes when you give them a recommendation, they'll reciprocate and they'll give you a recommendation back. But above and beyond that, what you're doing when you're giving somebody a recommendation, you're making them feel really good about themselves at that moment. And potentially when they're kind of feeling down upon themselves, which occasionally happens, they may go back and look at the recommendations and see the great things that you've done for others, and then that will lift their spirits. And another thing that it does is it helps them progress in their career. So a recruiter is looking to hire that individual. They go and they look at the recommendation that you have written for them, and it might help them get over the hump in finding a job of their choice as well. The final thing that is really good about giving recommendations is that now your hyperlink to your LinkedIn profile is now in that person's page. So if we go look at Emily's and scroll all the way down to the bottom in it as well, she's a transitioning teacher. And you can see here, so I've already dropped, but I gave her a recommendation. But the thing is now it's sort of like the link to my profile is now on her page also. So it's almost like product placement, where you've kind of placed your product on somebody else's profile to the point where maybe they would see what I wrote to her, and then as a result, it might drive them to my profile also, which could then result in opportunities for myself. So I highly recommend giving recommendations, and I highly recommend getting recommendations. Any questions on this? Perfect. Scroll down a little bit more. We're almost to the bottom of a profile. Another thing that you can add would be projects that you have worked on. So I think, was it Luke? You had sort of talked about, maybe what it was that you had done in the past. Maybe one of the things that you could do is take a look at a project that you had done a while ago and add it to a different section of your profile called projects. And then what's also kind of cool is you can tag people that you worked on that project with, and that drives them in as well. So you can add projects, honors and awards, and then I guess it's up here, volunteering. So all of these sections you can add into your profile. If you've written publications or public speaking or whatever it might be, you can add different categories into your profile. But I highly recommend adding your volunteer experience into your profile as well. It shows individuals what your causes are. It shows individuals what maybe you go above and beyond doing besides your typical 9-to-5 type job. And a lot of times in our resume, we don't have room to add volunteerism. So I would definitely recommend adding it to your profile. That, my friends, in a nutshell, in about 2 hours and 15 minutes, is an up and down of your LinkedIn profile. Do we have any questions on this aspect of it?
Hey, Scott, I actually did have a question.
Okay, yes, hi.
So the project part on my LinkedIn profile has always kind of been something that I have not really touched too much, because I've always kind of just been, I never really knew what to put there. What do you think is something of value? Like what type of things do you think I could list in the project section?
All right, I'm in your profile now, as you can see, right? Just real quick, and I know you're taking notes. You are in digital marketing and career marketing. I mean, I want you to highlight your creativity in this area right here, right? Yes.
I will. I'll write that down. Thank you.
Okay, good. Like, I mean, you know, this is your sweet spot right here. So let it shine. Obviously, you're going to build on your career, your skill sets in your headline. You're really close to 500 plus. Keep pushing away with that. Obviously, you know, as a recent graduate, you're going to enhance your about section. I want to know a little bit more about who you are as a person, and why are you passionate about social media and digital marketing? Tell us that story. If we go down to your experience, of course, add some description to that. Once again, even something as simple as a cashier and a Salesforce associate at these retail places, if you can mix in how you marketed different types of things, build that into your experience. Don't necessarily think about handling money, working with customers. If you did anything related to marketing and sales, I want to see this in your experience section. But if we go down to sort of the projects, which you don't have right now, what you could potentially do is talk about the projects that you did in college. You could talk about maybe the projects that you did as a freelancer, or the specific projects you did in your internship. Those are the types of things that you could discuss. And then, kind of like what I did, is as the people that you worked on or worked with in that project, add them to your LinkedIn profile as well. If they have, obviously, if they have a LinkedIn account. Does that kind of help?
Yeah, how would I go about doing that when you mentioned adding other people if they're on LinkedIn at least that were a part of the projects?
Okay, so if we go back, just go back to go into mine real quick. So if I scroll down to my projects, so we'll take this one, for example. I'm gonna hit the pencil, which should put me in edit mode, which it did. And then I'll click the pencil again to edit the project that I worked on. And then here, when I go to creator, I can add a creator. And maybe I could add, I'm just typing in a random name, right? So I could add in Leslie, for example. And then she would then be part of that project. And then her profile would then populate in my creator in that area as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, good. All right. So here's where we're at. I think we're at a good point. I mean, some of you might have already taken a break. I haven't taken a break yet. So I'm just going to take a quick break. Let's come back at 2:30 and we're going to go back into our slides and we're going to kind of catch ourselves up. I'll look at the slides and see if I missed anything that I wanted to discuss. And then we're going to talk about engagement. And then we'll wrap it up by talking about how to apply for jobs through LinkedIn. So we're going to take about a 12-minute break. We're going to come back at the bottom of the hour, regardless of what time zone you're in, and we'll continue this conversation. So I'll be right back. now that I think about it, and I'm back, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add the different people that have sort of supported me through my hands-on LinkedIn career. There we go. And I'll keep adding to it as people continue to help me. Eventually, one day I'll add Carla. Thank you for endorsing me for all those skills.
God, stop.
All right, does anybody have any questions kind of while we are waiting for people to return?
I should add multitasking to my skills because I usually working on LinkedIn, networking, and doing homework.
That is definitely multitasking.
I'm doing the same. I just got back from Israel last week, and I had I'm doing the trip report at the same time.
Oh my
So it's
goodness.
pretty crazy.
How was that visit?
Oh, it was wonderful. We got to do a lot the first couple of days, then we got down to business for the survey part. And then security-wise, it got a little intense before we left. So I'm glad we did the touristy stuff before we were not really allowed to do that anymore. So definitely good. Gosh, like I was just sending a message to a friend of mine. I was like, I wish I would have done this class probably about 2 years ago to really get serious, because it's so important. And now I feel like even though I've got some great amount of connections, I have like Jack for content on here, so I'm really going to get busy and gosh, and just take advantage of all the stuff. I was trying the premium thing through the links that they shared, and it wasn't quite working, but I think it connected I think it authenticated, but then it sent me to a different link, and then that one didn't open. And when I go back in now, it's like, oh, sorry, you've exceeded this. So I'm sure I'll figure it out. I've just got like 45 tabs open right now, and
Yeah,
I think
right.
I've just got too much going on. But gosh, it's so beneficial. And yeah, I just appreciate the time. Yeah, to get to do this every day. I mean, helping is such a great thing. But I mean, I swear I felt like I was so lost, and I do appreciate it, and want to take advantage and share with everyone. This is great.
I love it. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're able to make it.
I spent,
Scott.
I was stationed in Egypt for a year. So, and during that year, I spent a month working at the embassy in Tel Aviv. So I'm right there with you about Israel. Funny thing, traveling between Egypt and going into Israel was you could tell where the border was, because one side was green, one side was brown.
Absolutely. That same team is going out next week to Cairo, and I was in Cairo, but it's been a while, so I'm just happy that I got to do that and see that too. But oh, it's such a yeah. Pretty fortunate to do some of the things we get to do. But yeah, Cairo was one of the highlights. And then literally I've got about a month or so before I kind of get into my terminal leave, Skillbridge area. So the fact that I got to do one more pretty awesome one at the end is pretty great. So I feel pretty lucky. So, but I hope I can continue, because there's tons of people that were on the job that were all civilians. And I'm like, let me be in this international affairs group and keep going with this, because I can travel forever. I love it.
What do you have lined up for Skillbridge?
Um, well, so it's funny. My biggest thing, because I have put off doing my PMP so many times. So one of the things was like, um, I was going to do the PMP portion and just do that for my Skillbridge, and but I've also connected with the Hire Heroes group, and I'm gonna see. I know they have a cohort in August. Um, in that, and then another backup. I have three that were kind of that I was interested in, and the other one was the NGA and working with the National Geospatial team over in St. Louis. I like those guys too, and I hear they like folks that have active TSs. So anything that I can take advantage of and be a part of, I would like to do that. But PMP is very important. I want to I want to add that to it. I want to have some cool little alphabet soup going on after my degrees and other stuff. So that's a good one I want.
Yes, yes.
NGA is a good agency.
Yep, NGA is great. And I know some people over there if you need connections.
I was
Yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
do an internship there.
Oh, did you apply, or is it with NGA proper, or was it with the contractor over there? Because that's what I
It was
was trying to
NGA
figure out.
proper. I was in
Cool.
grad school for GIS work, and in 2007 I applied for an internship. Got the internship, but they didn't bother to tell you in the application that you had to provide your own housing. So, and housing they wanted me to go to DC, not St. Louis. So it was really expensive, so I could not go. But that's how I got my TS for 5 years. But
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm excited. I know there's a guy in our office now, who his wife works over there, and yeah, but I was gonna, before I made chief, I was gonna get out, I mean retire as a senior, and then a friend of mine it was like, hey, they had an Esri office, Esri and the National Geospatial team. They had a small office in San Antonio, and that's where we were at the time. And I was like super interested in it. And then I deployed, and then I got promoted when I was deployed. So I was like, I'm going to put a pin in that and come back 3 years from now, and then still think about the GIS world, and just working with NGA in general. So I'm excited. We'll see where it leads, but I'm
GIS
pretty
is
grateful
very
just to have a
interesting.
job.
The direction that GIS technicians are going nowadays is development. They want you to know at least a development language before, if you're going to work as a technician or an analyst of sorts. But being, you can apply your own experience, and try and get it from a different angle.
Yeah, I think that perspective would definitely help with just the advances on the technological side of things. That makes sense for sure.
So this is this is sort of stuff I thrive on, is when people that haven't necessarily ever met each other before find this sort of commonality to have conversation, build relationships, and then eventually friendships. And at the end, they help each other out. And this is sort of my purpose and my passion. So I love the side conversation. Let's keep it going. Let's keep talking and getting to know each other. So please don't be afraid to ask any questions whatsoever. I think I accidentally just closed up my slides. But you know what? I don't even think I really need them. Does anybody have any questions as to, where we're at so far over what we've covered? Because I know where I want to go next. Okay, great. So what I want to do now is I want you to realize that in a strange sort of way, LinkedIn is also a numbers game. And what I mean by that is the more people that you're connected with, so a first degree connection magnifies the number of second degree connections you have. So by connecting with me, you now, so shoot me a message after this is all over with, and then I will send you the entire recording for anything that you might have missed. And even if you've been here the whole time, if you want to go back and re-listen to it, I'll send you the recording. Yeah, so just shoot me a message so that way I can remember to send it to you. So by connecting with me, you now have about 14,000 second degree connections. and then you connect to somebody else that's connected with 3,000 people. Now you're at 17,000 second degree, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is where, as you're applying for jobs, you can find people that work for the company that you're interested in and reach out to them about that opportunity and hopefully become a referral. So what's weird, especially when I'm working with individuals that are in the military, especially those individuals that are really concerned about security, the more they're like, well, why would I connect with Pippa here, for example, when I don't even know her? She's in the UK. How could she possibly bring value to my network? Well, as I scroll through this, I'm just going to kind of see what it is that she has done. I can see her activity. She's very active on the platform, which means because she's active, it could lead me to meeting other people that's in her network or that she engages with that might be able to help me with the process of looking for employment or understanding resources or anything along those lines. I scroll down a little bit more, I can see that she's a community connector, not quite sure what that is, but as I can see here, she works with children and young people and individuals with disabilities. So if, I'm in the industry where, I enjoy working with individuals with maybe some sort of a disability, she also might be advantageous to my network. And then I scroll down and I go through some other things. I see that she has a couple certificates or whatever. I know she's professional. She's probably not a terrorist. Why would I not potentially add her to my network? And this is the example of what we're saying, where she has it set up to where I can follow her. But if I go over to more, I can actually connect with her. I would always recommend adding some sort of an introduction. I recently stumbled upon your profile. I think it would be a great advantage for us to connect with each other, and potentially we can collaborate with each other moving forward in the future. I look forward to seeing your engagement as I grow professionally, or as we grow professionally. And then send. I may not, or she may not need me tomorrow, next week, a month from now, or 3 months from now. We don't know when our paths may cross again, but there's probably a good chance that eventually they will cross. And the example that I often like to use is, there was a time where I reached out to a recruiter. This was a while ago, pre-COVID, but let's make it relevant. So I reached out to a person, let's say 3 years ago, and we're connected. She's in recruiting and she's working at a totally different company. But what happened was, I had a chief that was in public affairs, and he heard about a position with the XFL football team that was just starting up in the St. Louis area. Brand new company, basically. And I said, you know what? For fun, let's just see if I'm connected with anybody that works for this brand new XFL team in St. Louis. So I searched the Battlehawks, and sure enough, a recruiter that I was connected with 5 years ago just started a position as a recruiter with the Battlehawks. So now I had an in, right? I could reach out to that recruiter for this chief to inquire about a brand new position with a brand new organization. So the people that you connect with today, you may not be able to help, or they may not be able to help you right now at this moment, but it's just such a big Rolodex of people that you connect with that I highly recommend connecting with almost anybody. There are some times where if I feel like they're going to be overly salesy, or if their background really 100 doesn't percent align with me, that I would ignore that connection request. Other than that, I'll connect with them. If they approach me about some things that I'm not comfortable with, or they're overly pushy, then I'll remove them from my network. But as long as we connect and we're good to go for a while, why not have them in my back pocket? Because who knows, in the future, maybe I can help them or they can help me. And that's ultimately what this is about, is either sort of paying it forward or, getting help from them. Do we have any comments that anybody else wants to add about building your network? And then I'm going to go into kind of showing you how I build my network. Any comments on connecting with strangers from anybody?
Is there any time where you get this off, just some stranger that has like nothing, almost nothing in their profile, and just you have a bad feeling about it?
Yeah, so that would,
feeling, or would you just do the connection?
so that's probably the point where I will probably digress and not connecting with them. So let's say, for example, let's kind of go through this. So how I connect with people, one of the first ways that I look to connect with people is I look at who's viewed my profile. So I'll go through it, and ideally I'm kind of looking for somebody that's a second degree connection. And Angeline is here, so I won't worry about her. I'll connect with her. She seems decent. Once again, Sarah, second degree connection. She works as a transitioning military professional. I'm definitely eventually going to reach out. I'm definitely going to reach out and connect with her. Stefan here, he's transitioning veteran. I'm definitely going to reach out and connect with him. So here's an example here. I don't know who this person is. I'm gonna open up. It's like I can't even open up their profile because they're anonymous. So that's probably not a person that I would reach out and connect to.
Right. Okay.
Here,
I've been getting several like that, where it's like a foreign name that I don't recognize.
So here, this individual, not discriminating against anybody from India. I connect with a lot of people from India, particularly if they're in the career field of recruiting. But if I go through it and I kind of take a look, I'm not getting much information here as far as to who they are, what they do. They don't have a profile picture. They don't have a banner. As far as their engagement and activity, they haven't posted lately at all. So this is a person, like if they reached out and connected with me, I'd probably go ahead and pass on it. Just because there's just not a lot there for me to get a feeling of who this individual is. But as far as somebody being from another country or something like that, I'll definitely connect with them if I feel like they can bring value to the other people that's in my network. I took you to my good friend Nadia, and I'll go back to her real quick. So if you haven't connected with her yet, I'd highly recommend it. Nadia says, I build my network for you and not necessarily for me, which I think is great advice for those of us that maybe are in a helping agency. The bigger our network is with those individuals that could potentially support you, those are the people that we're going to connect with. So really, once again, it kind of goes back to a comfort level and going with your gut. I mean, you've been trained in the military, to be almost overly sensitive. So I want you to open up that sensitivity just a little bit. But if you feel queasy in your stomach about connecting with somebody, then don't do it. Other than that, I'd literally probably connect with just about everybody. So with that said, so like what I said is I'll go through who's viewed my profile. And then what I'll do is I'm actually going to go back who's viewed my profile. And I'm actually going to go to I'll do I was looking for Angelina again. Here she is. So I'm gonna go to Angeline. So let's say, for example, and I guess she hasn't sent out a connection request. So here's exactly how I would do it. I would say connect, and then I'll add a note. And then I would say something along the lines of hi. And then I'm not a big fan of long paragraphs. That's just me. You can see I've done this quite a bit over my career. Like that. And then literally what I could do is like, I could copy it, send, and then I could go back to who's viewed my profile and look at some other people that kind of align. I mean, I didn't say anything overly specific. I gave her a compliment for the profession that she's in. I said, I'm looking forward to sharing her information with the people in my community. It's almost like, why wouldn't she want to connect with me, right? And then on top of that, what she's going to see is she's going to see my profile, banner, my picture, and my headline. And all of that probably aligns with the direction that she would want to go in her career. So we would probably end up going ahead and ending up and connecting with each other. What I'll do when I'm on her page is then I'll go look at other people viewed. And right now, okay, so the one person that I see is this individual. He's a social worker with the Department of Veterans Affairs. That's pretty awesome. So what I'll do is I will look at people you may know. So this individual, Rodney, he's got a top secret security clearance. He's in logistics. What I could do, I have a couple options. If I do this, it sends him the connection request without me being able to send a message. So typically what I do is I'll right click and I'll open up in a new tab. And then I'll kind of go through the same process, look for commonalities, and then reach out and connect with them. I'm like a big fan of emotional intelligence. So maybe that's what I talk about as our commonality when I reach out to connect with her.
Hey, Scott.
Yes, go ahead.
So I responded back to you and I accepted. Does that mean we're connected now, or because I don't see you under my connections?
Our relationship is now official. You're stuck with me.
Okay, where does that show that at? Because I don't.
So if we go, all right, real quick. If we go back to my profile.
Okay.
And I go look at my connections.
Okay.
You should be the first one. Nope, and you're not. I don't know. It's in there. If you refresh me, I should be a number 1 instead of a number 2.
What does that mean, number 1 or number 2?
So number 1 means that you and I are connected. Number 2 would mean that you're connected to somebody that's also connected to me.
Okay, so I'm looking at my profile. I'm sorry, but I don't see you. I
Okay.
see you under messaging. And I just
Oh,
switched over.
I put the wrong person in again. That must be your alter ego. There you are. So, okay, so here it is. And it says here, you are a 1.
Okay,
So we are officially connected to each other.
cool. So you see me as 22 connections. On my profile, I see you have 17.
So that's probably, maybe you need to refresh.
Really?
It's probably people that you've connected with throughout our time together, in this
Okay.
workshop that have reached out to connect with you.
I see.
So it's growing and maybe it takes a refresh. I know sometimes people will say, hey, Scott, I just updated my profile. And
Uh-huh.
I'll go look at their profile and I haven't seen right away that it's been updated. I don't know why there's a little bit of a lag, but sometimes there is.
So we are connected. And can you show me where I'm connected on your profile, please?
Oops, that's Brianna. Bear with me a second. So right here where it says 1st degree,
Okay.
you see that?
Yeah, okay.
That means we are official.
That's awesome. Thank you for this.
Okay, yep, absolutely. So once again, other people viewed, other ways I connect with individuals is, as I'm kind of going through my wall, definitely would not connect with her because she's a Cardinals fan. That's where I draw the line. Like if you're a Cardinals fan, we're not connected with each other. Just kidding. But like, so even here, like this is on my wall. So Matt, I'm connected with, but Sarah is a 2nd degree connection. So that because I saw Matt liked what she said, it might drive me to her profile. And then as a result, I kind of take a look through it. And sure enough, we got some things in common. I'm going to reach out and I'm going to connect with her. So here's the thing where this really makes a difference. Angeline, I'm going to come back to you in a moment. And we'll try to show them how there's a disadvantage in only having 22 connections versus 500 plus connections.
Okay.
When we start to look at applying for jobs. All right. Okay. So any questions on building your network? Perfect. Silence is golden. Lenore, are you back?
I just typed in my question, but I'll just ask. So
Go ahead.
you may have answered this already, but people who view you, you can also view them. I've got some people who view me in private. Is there any way I can see who that is?
Unfortunately, the answer is no. So once again, if we go back and we look at who's viewed my profile,
Uh-huh.
and everybody that is sort of anonymous,
Yeah.
we really can't figure out who they are. But you know what? That's also a disadvantage to them.
How so?
Because when you set up your privacy to be private the way they are, that means that whoever looks at their profile is the exact same way.
Could that be like a potential employer, or maybe like, I don't know, like an ex, or I mean, it could be anything, right?
It literally could potentially be anything. The
Okay.
one thing that, is that it does kind of say is, if we go look at this one, the college that they
Yeah.
went to here, we already looked at his it kind of worked for us. Oh, it's simply because he doesn't have a profile picture yet. So he's not in sort of like a private setting mode.
Okay.
He just doesn't have a profile picture. This person here, I also think that they just don't have a profile picture because
Okay.
it would say something like someone at United States Air Force.
Yes, I have that. Yeah.
And you wouldn't even have their name.
No.
So that's how they kind of have it set up, which it's to their disadvantage also.
I'm just wondering if they could be like potential, like, because I've been applying for jobs.
Uh-huh.
Maybe, they're just kind of checking, but they don't want you to see who they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. You would be able to see if, like, let's say you applied for a position at Wells Fargo, and
Okay.
then the person that viewed your profile said someone at Wells Fargo,
Okay.
then that might be sort of like that. Oh, okay. I
Hmm.
applied for a job at Wells Fargo. Somebody looked at my profile at Wells Fargo, but they've hidden themselves. Then maybe I'd align them together. But in all honesty, I don't think recruiters or hiring managers are all ashamed at looking at your profile
Okay.
while trying to recruit or hire you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Scott, got another one out there. So as far as networking, how do you feel about groups?
Yeah, let's kind of talk about that. I'm a fan of groups. I don't think that groups have as much pull as they used to. For some reason, people aren't involved in groups. But let's say, for example, and this is a great example. Let's say, for example, I'm getting ready to move. And where I'm going to move to is, I'm going to do Scottsdale. I probably spelled that wrong. I'm going to do Phoenix because I know how to spell Phoenix versus Scottsdale, Arizona. Phoenix, Arizona. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at groups. And what I could potentially do is I could join this group right here. So I'm in St. Louis or wherever I'm located. I'm getting ready to move to Phoenix and I want to build my network in the Phoenix area. So what I would do is I would join groups in the Phoenix area. And then as soon as I'm in this group, I have access to all 995 members. Then I can do a search on those 995 members. And I could potentially look for people that are in a certain industry. I could look at the past companies that they worked for. I could look for their degree, or I could look for the college that they went to. Once again, kind of trying to find a commonality. And I could reach out to them. And I would say, I'm currently residing in the St. Louis area. I'm preparing to move to Phoenix. I noticed that you used to be in the United States Army. I would love to add you to my network and talk to you a little bit more about the Phoenix area or jobs in the Phoenix area. So it's a great way to, once again, kind of continue to build your network. Another way that you can build your network that I absolutely love is if I type in digital marketing, because that's my profession. And then, so I can actually join groups related to my industry. So once again, this group has 2 million members. So once I'm in that group, I then filter it down to maybe my location. So now I'm in this group and I'm moving to Phoenix. So I want to look for people that are in this group that only live in Phoenix. And now I've got 10 to 15 people that align with that. I reach out and connect with them. I'm in digital marketing. I'm prepared to move to Phoenix. I notice you're part of this group. Can we have a short conversation? But another thing that you can do is I am going to all filters. Oops. All right, let me totally refresh. That didn't quite work. Let me close this and go into this one. All right, digital marketing. That's my profession, or it's logistics or human resources or recruiting, whatever it might be. But this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to events. And these are all the upcoming workshops that are about to happen that relate to my profession of digital marketing. So once I register for this event, attend, I now have access to everybody else that is also registered for that event. And I would simply reach out to them and say, I noticed that you are currently registered for the digital marketing strategy for business. I would love to add you to my network, and I look forward to seeing you during this workshop, and then connect with them. Now you're building your network around people that are in the same industry. You could once again type in location and then look at events, and then join people that, or connect with people that are attending that networking event that's in the same area that you're going to, and build your network with like-minded professionals. So that is how you are building your network.
Hi, Scott, if I could add just a
Yes, please
couple
go
things
ahead.
on here. So I did just that. I joined an event and I chatted with a couple people. And what's so cool about networking and what came out of that is that one of them later offered to do one-on-one. So for me, it's a pivot into what I want to do. You know, still trying to figure out, do I want to keep in the same lane or road that I was in the military, which is human resources and recruiting, and also trying to make a pivot into diversity, equity, and inclusion. But I just don't have the resources. I don't know too much about it. So I joined an event that was purely diversity, equity, and inclusion, and linked up with a couple people. That one person said, hey, I'm willing to do a one-on-one. I don't know this person at all, complete stranger, and for free. So I'm like, heck yeah, like put me on your calendar. And we met up, and it was awesome. He gave me resources. I asked him about books, you know, certifications, like what do I need to do to start my career and start building my own credibility if this is the passion that I feel that I have. So it was incredible. And I have 2 others that I'm meeting with for diversity in this career field. So, I mean, just the fact that you can hook up with total strangers and that they're willing. I've taken phone calls, I've done Zoom calls, virtual coffees, and it's just stepping outside of your comfort zone. But all you have to do is reach out and ask.
Yes.
I haven't had any issues with somebody saying, no, I can't. Really, the only thing I've had maybe is I don't have time right now, but I'm willing to answer any questions that you have via email or chat. So they're still willing to help. You really just gotta reach out and ask.
That's it. I mean, that goes back to a whole nother topic, is not being afraid to reach out and ask for help. You know, so as we're sort of discussing this, if you think about it, if you're afraid to reach out and ask for help, you're actually depriving a person of a feel-good moment. For the most part, most human beings, if they have, you know, the bandwidth, they want to help other people. And when you don't reach out to ask them for that help, then you're kind of taking away that feel-good moment for them. So absolutely, you know, step up the courage to say, hey, I noticed this. Do you mind spending, you know, 10 to 15 minutes asking any questions that I might have? And as I said, if they don't have time to talk on the phone, a lot of times they're like, well, you know, send me your questions and then I'll respond to it, you know, in an email or something like that. But bottom line is for the most part, we all want to help each other. So take advantage of that.
Yeah, I've been having the same the same experience. Think about that. If somebody reach out to you, would you help? I'm pretty sure yes. If somebody, hey Carla, can you help me? Absolutely. So it's the same concept.
Absolutely. Yep. But it's a matter of getting the courage to ask. And I'm not quite sure, you know, as we have our transitioning teachers here and we have some recent graduates, I know a lot of times for our military members, it's often difficult to kind of reach out and ask for help because we kind of have that pride type thing. But we have to be able to do it. So I love that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I think it's really important. So next, let's go ahead and kind of talk about engagement. Obviously, there's a lot of ways that you can engage with other people to help build opportunity, build your network, and find job opportunities. So the first one is really kind of simple. As you are taking your time throughout the day, just scroll through your wall and kind of take a look at the content that is out there. Okay, here's one. Federal April 9th is Former Prisoner of War Recognition Day. Did you know that, Carla? See how great April is?
Yeah.
Okay. So Carla and I have a thing going about how great April is.
Oh, April. I thought you were talking about Percy.
No, about like there's all these different things
April,
happening
yes.
in April.
Yes, and yesterday was a International Recruiting Day,
It
Recruiter
was.
Day.
Yes.
Yes.
All these great things happen in April. Okay. So you know, as I'm kind of scrolling through this stuff, you know, I'll find something that kind of, you know, resonates with me, something that I feel like I can add value to. All right, so maybe here's, so I have options. I can actually give it one of these little things and I'm done and I move on. Or I can actually take the time, which isn't a lot of time, and I can actually read through the content that this person put together. And trust me, and all of my other content creators can elaborate on this. Sometimes it takes time to come up with this narrative to put together. Of course, you're thinking of ideas, you're thinking about how you want to make it stand out, you're thinking about the grammar. It can take 20 minutes to an hour sometimes to kind of put something like this together. And when you put it together and you post it out there, you're almost like hoping, praying, please let people comment on this. I really hope they like what I wrote, type of a thing. So it can almost be discouraging sometimes when you put all this energy into creating content and then it has one comment so far. And I don't know how long it's been out there. It's been out there a week. That can kind of be discouraging to a person. So in order to lift them up, and I don't have time right now to read through it and come up with something creative, but what I like to do, instead of giving it some sort of a thumbs up, a like, support, etc., is I really want you to write out some sort of insightful type of comment. Number one, what it does is now, instead of being 1 of 7, and trust me, nobody really looks through how many people or who gave somebody some type of a thumbs up engagement. People are more likely to look through the different comments that have been offered in a post to see what other people are saying. And when they see what you have said, it might drive them to your profile. And ultimately, that's what we want to do. We want people to come to look at your profile so they'll reach out to you for opportunity. So what I would do, and it doesn't take a lot of time, just to come up with something. Obviously, what I like to do is I like to tag the person that wrote the post and then just type out a really short sentence elaborating on what they said and how I feel about what it is that they wrote, and then send it. It's going to do a couple of things. It's going to put your name out there. It's going to make them feel good that you actually took the time to write something insightful about what they have thought about writing for, 30 minutes to an hour. So with that said, I highly recommend commenting. Now, if I were to also share it, then it also goes out to the people in my network. But by commenting, it also goes out to the people in my network. So what I would recommend is do a comment over any of these three options. Now, I understand sometimes it's a little bit harder when you're on your mobile phone to do an insightful comment, and it's easier just to sort of give it a thumbs up. But if it's really something that you are engaged with and you feel like you want to provide an insightful comment in the future, what you can do is, even on your phone, you're going to click on the three dots and then you can save it for later. And then what you'll do is, if you go back to my items, oops. My items, I can see all of my saved posts. So like, even if somebody wrote something that you're like, wow, this is really good stuff, I want to remember this. Eventually it's either going to get lost on their wall or it's going to get lost into the universe of other content. Save it, and then you can go back to it later to review it and look at it deeper. So I often save a lot of posts so that way I can go back and look at them at a different time. Any questions on saving content? Any questions on replying to content?
No, can I add something though?
Yes, please. Thank you.
So as as like a social media marketer, I know a lot about, you know, the way that the algorithms work, and you know, knowing the, you know, from understanding the Instagram algorithm, understanding the TikTok algorithm, understanding Facebook, LinkedIn for me, and I feel like I can speak to a lot of content creators, is LinkedIn has one of the best algorithms out there. Just with what, you know, you're saying, Scott, about how just a simple comment on someone's LinkedIn post is, you're able to share that with so many other people. So, you know, when like for me, I don't have, obviously, Scott, you have so much more connections than I do, but I have 477, but so far on the post that I made yesterday, 700 people have been able to see that post. And that's not 700 of my connections. That are people like Scott that responded to that post, or other people that have liked that post. You know, them just doing those things, you're able to get that content out to so many other people. And that's what I think is so special about LinkedIn, and why I think they excel. And I understand that's kind of the purpose of LinkedIn too. But they have one of the best algorithms out of any social media platform, and I feel like people should definitely take advantage of it.
I like that. So I'm going to ask you a question as somebody that's in this sort of industry. Whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, any of the platforms, are you concerned with what part of engagement aligns with you the most? Is it views? Is it reactions? Or would it be comments?
That's a great question. Thinking from a professional standpoint, I think it's going to come down to what you're, you know, as an organization, you want. So for example, one of my big ones I work with a nonprofit organization. And so we mainly focus on our impressions and our reach. So, you know, as long as we are getting, you know, constantly improving month after month, you know, our analytics show that our impressions and our reach are growing. I think that's the biggest thing that we kind of want, because we focus a lot on brand awareness. We want people to know who our organization is, what we do as a nonprofit. So obviously, you know, it's going to be different from, you know, what an influencer wants out of social media.
And do you agree that as people, job seekers, we're also a brand that needs to be marketed?
Oh, definitely. You know, I think in yourself, you know, you've created your own brand. And I think that's the awesome part about LinkedIn and about social media in itself, especially over the last couple of years, is you can make you can brand yourself. I can have the, you know, the Brianna Hafer brand if I wanted to. That's not a personal goal of mine at this moment, but you know, you have the Scott brands. Like that's what what's so awesome about social media is that you don't have to be, you know, have your name on a building and have a storefront to say that you have a brand. You don't have to have your name on a product to have a brand. You know, social media is so awesome in a sense that you're able to build yourself up. You know, I'm sure that's what you did for yourself. You took the things that you really enjoy doing, you enjoy the thing, you know, the things that you really enjoy talking about, and have created yourself and have been able to make yourself known in that realm of your connections and on the social media LinkedIn sphere, especially, where you're known for talking, for being a great connection to recommend other people to jobs, and you know, whatever it is that you specifically cater to, is definitely, I definitely say yes. And social media is so awesome for that, and you can create your own personal brand and I love it. I love social media. I could talk about it for days, so I'm gonna stop stop talking.
So here's something that's really interesting, because I love passion and purpose. And it's very interesting when you start to talk to people that are passionate about something and it aligns with their purpose. It's hard to get them to stop talking about it, right? So in my perfect world as a career coach, I want people to find their profession that they don't even want to stop talking about, because it just means so much to them. But I love your segue, because I saved this post just specifically for today, and it's by Anna. And what I kind of like about Anna's profile is that she has her Enneagram, she has that she's a Virgo, and she's got some quirky stuff. But basically what I'm really focused on is what she wrote here today, 7 hours ago. Creating her personal brand on LinkedIn led to her dream job. And then she staked out the reasons how it led to her dream job. And what's ironic is that she found it, or she obtained it, not necessarily by applying for the jobs, but by following the company, engaging in what the company put out on LinkedIn to help herself stand out amongst the others, to a point where she became a referral, and to where she's at right now. So with that said, and Eddie's coming in, which I think is awesome. Okay. So with that said, you can create a path to success just by building your brand in this platform, right? And this is really kind of what I want you to really kind of take away from it. So real quick, we'll take a quick pause. Hey, Eddie, how are you doing?
What's up, Scott? What's up, everyone? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thank you for taking some time to join us. I've told everybody that they have to reach out and connect with you. If they haven't already, I think you might notice some familiar names in here.
Yeah. I started receiving some. I don't know if it's from this group. Yeah, you started earlier, right?
Yeah. So we started about 3 hours ago.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
What's up, Miss Branch?
Hey,
Jared,
Eddie,
what's
nice
up?
to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to catch the end of this.
So real quick, I'll ask you a quick question, because I know when you texted me, you said you got to go pretty soon. How does creating a brand on LinkedIn help a recruiter make a determination in moving forward, etc.? And why don't you give a quick background of yourself before you answer that question?
Sure. So for those of you that don't know me, so I retired from the Marine Corps last year in November. And I did a military internship program with Lockheed Martin. From there, I was able to secure my first employment opportunity while I was still on my PTO towards the end of my my term. And I didn't stay long. I left after 3 months, but because of my activity, my branding, I think, and the relationships I was able to build, I reached out to my community, my network, to help me kind of put myself back on the market. And within 2 weeks, I had, like, I kid you not, I had about 20, 30 companies that had reached out to me. Not once did I submit an application. It went straight to hiring manager, had conversations, and by doing that, I was able to weed people out. And eventually I ended up here at CellPoint, went through the background check, holidays, and I started back in January. And I'm extremely happy where I'm at. It sucked that I had to go through those experiences, but I'll tell you right now that I'm probably going to be here at CellPoint for a very, very long time. I think I found my home. But I do bring the perspective as a transitioning veteran, as a job seeker, and now as a recruiter on how we look at profiles and candidates here on LinkedIn, and we see who leverages the platform and who doesn't. So if I remember the question correctly, and how does branding help, I'll give you a very recent and relevant example. So some of you may have known the story with Jennifer Horton. That's one of my success stories in this whole branding thing, and putting yourself out there and telling us and showing us who you are. She was re-entering the workforce after a few years, after about 4 years of being out of the workforce. She came back on the platform, put herself out there, and long story short, I saw something there. I followed through with her, and now she is one of my coworkers. No kidding, she's our recruiting coordinator supporting my team. She aspires to be a recruiter, so hopefully, I know that she'll make it. But a more recent and relative example is this gentleman by the name, I don't remember his last name, but Adrian. He is pivoting from the teaching field. He was a teacher, is a teacher, and he's kind of working with the, you know him, Scott, Adrian?
Well, yeah, I mean, we had it in our group text, how you.
Yeah.
Your brag post.
Say again?
Your brag post.
Oh, yeah. So Adrian is pivoting from the educational field. He was a middle school teacher, I believe, and he's trying to break into tech. And so he's doing his part. He's closing the skill gap, and he pursued his master's in tech, and he's getting some certifications, and he's trying to get into customer success roles, which really align with their teaching background and skills. And so I saw him hustling on LinkedIn, like he's just actively on there, and he's sharing his experiences and what's working, what's not. And even though he doesn't have a job, he's still active out there and trying to help and do his part. And so I keep seeing his stuff come up, and I'm like, who is this Adrian? What is he trying to do? So sure enough, I go through his profile. It's well put together. I see things that get my attention, and I said, you know what? There's probably something there for a customer success manager role. Let's see if we can give him a shot. We got on a call. I saw something in him that I think is worth considering. So I turned that into an internal referral. Pitched him over to my recruiter, and I said, hey, I know that you get a ton of people pivoting into the customer success manager roles, and that role that she's supporting right now has like 80 applications in. And so she has to go through them, and like half of them are referrals. But here's the thing. When everyone gets dropped in as a referral, hey, Jennifer's a referral, Eddie's a referral, Scott's a referral, with nothing behind it, how do you really set yourself apart? So what I tried to do, right, and there's people out there like me, other recruiters like me, if I see something on your profile that gets my attention and I really think that there's something there, and I engage with the conversation, and then I'm like, yeah, there's definitely something there, I'm going to put that in my notes, and I'm going to sell that. I'm going to sell you to my recruiter that's supporting that hiring manager in that role. Well, that's what happened with Adrian. She had a screening interview with him. He's going to have a interview with the hiring manager next week. So out of the 80 plus candidates, I was able to fast track him to the top. And now he's at an interview stage. Now, whether he gets the opportunity or not, I don't know, but he's definitely going to learn from this if he doesn't. All this to answer the question that branding plays a huge part. Not every recruiter does it, but why not leverage the platform for those recruiters that do see it and do use it like that? So I kind of rambled. I hope that answered the question.
No. I mean, like, you can just drop the mic and go now. No, it's exactly kind of like what I wanted to hear, because I think it's just things that people need to think about. Is LinkedIn a lot of work? Yeah, it is a lot of work, but at the same time, you can have fun with it, right? You're going to build community, you're going to build friendships, you're going to learn. So why not put the effort into it? Because you can see how things come to fruition when you take those approaches. It looks like there might be a question for you real quick, Eddie. Do you help people find their brand? That's kind of my job.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's Scott. That's all Scott. You know, I love it. I have a passion for it. I don't have the bandwidth and the ability to really scale how I help people. I'm a recruiter full time. Just got off some calls and we had some wins and it was great and we celebrated. So I'm off the clock. So I had some of this. But I don't have the bandwidth to really do the type of help that I would like to. And the best way that I can do it is I will put content that I find a lot of positive feedback with, and that, you know, behind the scenes, you know, I get a lot of appreciation for the post, and I'll list them in my featured section. So I got like 15 or 16 different posts that you know, I found that are pretty valuable to people. And so those are some of the things that I would probably talk to you about. Just take a look at the feature section, not just mine, but other folks. I mean, Scott, that's perfect. He got a ton of stuff out there. What I will tell you about this, you know, since we're talking about it, is you're never going to identify your brand unless you put yourself out there. Right? You got to test the waters some way, somehow. You got to try something. If it doesn't work, you adjust. And if it works and you find it and people are receptive to it, then you continue with that. And the last thing I'll say about branding is, I think people have this idea that they got to turn into something, and that's really not the case. Branding, think about branding is, how do you want people to know you? When your name gets brought up, how do you want people to describe you? What do you want them to say about you? That's your brand. It doesn't have to be like, oh, Eddie, the Lego man. I tried that a while ago and I kind of dropped it. I mean, some people still know me for that. You don't have to be known for any, I don't know. It's like this huge brand logo. I don't know. It's just, what do you want people to say behind closed doors positively, right? About you and how you are on the platform, how you give back, the type of person you are. That's your brand. If you enjoy helping people, then put that to action. Go out there, help people out, provide resources, give people food for thought. Scott puts his heart on his sleeve and he's out there all day, every day. And that's, to me, that's his brand, is this guy helps everyone to no end. And that's his brand in my eyes. Anyone that's asking for branding help, coaching help, you know, trying to figure out where they want to go in life, I'm like, go to Scott, go to Scott. And so you gotta put yourself out there, you know, trial and error.
All right, you can go now. I owe you a lot. No, thank you. And then Gerard just dropped in, and he's done it twice even. He did it at the beginning of the event, and then he's done it now. Your your LinkedIn optimization, profile optimization. So you know, we're spreading the good word today.
Nice. Appreciate that.
So I know you got a quick call. We're going to talk about.
I had a quick call. It sounds like you're booting me out.
No, not at all. I'm about ready to talk about applying for jobs on LinkedIn. So if you want to stick around, let's do it.
Dude, I'm good, man. I'm good.
All right. So
that's why I got the bottle.
The final part of what we have to discuss today is applying for jobs on LinkedIn. And literally kind of having Eddie here is going to solidify this sort of process for us. So when we're on the platform, if we go over to jobs, eventually the site is going to start to recognize, based on the positions that you've looked at before, and maybe how your profile is developed, the types of jobs they feel that you would be able to pursue. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to, like I said, we're going to take a look at a couple of them. So the first one, so we see here, we have this one is the program manager, diversity recruiting. And then we have this one here, human resources business partner. But this one has easy apply, but this one does not. So let's take a look at this one first. And this is going to be really interesting because I'm not familiar with this organization. So when I open it as a person that has LinkedIn Premium, I can see that there are over 200 applicants for this job already. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to look at sort of the vacancy announcement. make sure that my skills, align with it. Of course, you're going to go in and you're going to tailor your resume to match up to the job that you're looking for. And then as I go down further, I'm going to see here how many of the people have applied for the job in the last 9 days. As what was sort of brought up earlier, I can see that I have in my skills to be endorsed, which we talked about, I have 5 of the top 10 skills. So I might, as I suggested, have 30 skills so that way you have 20 to add to. I might go back and add to the other 5 skills to really kind of solidify my ability to do this job. I can see here that 51% have a bachelor's degree, 87% of the applicants are at a senior level, yada, yada, yada. If you do not have premium, you won't be able to see this information. Because this is not an easy apply, when I go to apply for it, it's actually going to take me away from the LinkedIn platform, and it's going to take me to the company website where I will fill out their online application and I will submit my resume that way. Go back to it. I've applied for the job. My next step is not to sit back, wait for something to happen. I have to be proactive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the company. And I can see here that there are 5 people that went to the exact same school that I went to that work for this organization. I could potentially reach out to them. Hey, I noticed you went to Southern Illinois University. I did too. We're both alumni. Do you have any information about this job that I've applied for, etc.? Whenever you reach out to somebody about a job opportunity, make sure you put in the vacancy announcement number. And Eddie might be able to elaborate on the importance of this in a little bit. But basically what it does is it allows him to go into a system and find exactly the position that you applied for. The other thing I could do is if I decided to not go towards alumni, I could go to the employees and I've got 16,000. I need to narrow that down. So one of the ways that I could narrow it down is I could do it by location. I could look for everybody that works for this company that's also in the St. Louis area. I could do it by filters to where my options are. I could do past company. I could look for everybody that used to be in the Air Force, used to be in the Army, used to be in the Marines that now work for this company because we have a commonality. I could do it by industry. If it's digital marketing and that's what I went to school for, I could look for everybody that's in marketing, etc., reach out and connect with them. Or I could do staffing and recruiting. Let's try that. And then do a search. So now we have 52 people that work for the company that I just applied for that have the ability to reach out and potentially provide me with additional guidance, etc. So a lot of times, let's pretend that I'm in service. This is the job that I'm looking for. I would probably reach out to Amy. I would actually reach out to more than one. I'd reach out to Amy. I would go through her profile, look for that commonality that we discussed before. So, I'd look at her about section. Looks like she's got a great sense of humor. She's on point with her GIFs, which that's kind of funny. Papa Shot basketball professional. I actually love this. So like, as we're talking about building our about section, crazy things like this, like makes me smile and it makes me want to talk to her. It makes me feel like I can reach out to her and she's going to be totally engaged with responding back to me. And I might even bring that up in our connection request. It's pretty cool. She used to work for Nike. All right, so I got a pretty good idea of who she is and what she does. So once again, I'm not going to follow her. If I have LinkedIn Premium, I can send her a message. And by sending her an email, I can provide more context to how I'm qualified for the job, as well as the job I've applied for, et cetera. I can almost write this as a cover letter, so to speak. My other option, obviously, is I'm going to reach out and I'm going to connect with her. And I'm going to tell her the position that I applied for, and then I'm going to bring in some sort of a commonality, as well as within the amount of characters that I have, how I'm qualified for this job. So Eddie, while I've got you on here, would you rather receive an in-mail or a connection request or both?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I was going to mention something about this. So I'm glad that you brought it up. There's a number of different things, right? That's going to be a subjective answer because I may like it one way, another recruiter may like it a different way. Here's what I'd tell you. You're limited here doing it this way, right? Where you do a connection add note, I think you're limited to like 130 something characters, right? I don't remember exactly, but you're limited on what you can say. So you're gonna have to be really, 300. You're gonna have to be really concise to what you're gonna send, right? And before you know it, you're like, oh crap, I can't even like hit a space and I can't even complete my name. I know that I ran into that. But if you go over to InMail, let's make this interactive, right? So if I get an in-mail, and this is kind of like part of recruiting, is I need to hook you. I need to give you a reason to open my email, my in-mail, whatever it is. So let's make it interactive. What are some subject lines that we think that we could potentially use to reach Amy to increase the odds that she's going to open it? Anyone? Any guesses?
Yeah, this is a good point for us to make it interactive. Come on, Carla, tell us, what would you do? Hashtag.
Hashtag. Oh, goodness. I literally cannot see from my phone. Well, something interesting about her profile. Let's see. Oh, Lululemon. I love Lululemon pants, probably.
Okay.
I mean, I don't, but like maybe a headline.
It's right
So
there.
does this
What
go
did
back
Scott
into
say?
does this go back into doing a little bit of research about the company even before you send the message?
Oh, she's a TA in Lululemon, so never mind. Let's see. Certified. Shoot, Eddie.
What if you did like, what if you did like Papa Shot to diversity recruiting?
Yes. So think about it, right? This recruiter probably, like every other recruiter, gets many messages throughout the day, right? InMail may have just the standard, right? It just drowns out. But what if all of a sudden she sees, what is it? I'm blind, so I gotta look in. Papa Shot basketball subject line. And I'm like, how the heck, what, like, how do you know about Papa Shot? What are you talking about? You just increase the likelihood that that recruiter is going to open that InMail, right? And respond, because that is a subject line that she typically will not get, right? So for me, as a recruiter reaching out to candidates, if you're already working somewhere, right, you're probably getting bombarded by recruiters with the same subject lines. Hey, great opportunity, or recruiting role here and program manager role here. But if all of a sudden I drop your company name in the subject line, you're like, what's going on with my company? You're going to open it. Boom, I got you, right? And I'll tell you that works because I track the data. I have metrics that prove that. So anyways, back to this is look through their profile, find something that's interesting right? That maybe is personal to them. This Papa Shot thing is personal. It has nothing to do with TA, and it's going to get her attention. So going back to how do you want to approach it? Do you want to approach it with just a connection request and you kind of limit it with how creative and how much you can really put out with 300 characters? Or do you want to try maybe sending an email with a personalized subject line and then going in and adding, I mean, you have unlimited characters, right? In emails,
Yeah.
and you can go ahead and drop what you need there, right? But don't leave nothing about Papa Shot out. Don't just make that a subject line. Like, you know, what's so cool about it? Don't just use it to hook them. And then there's nothing in the message about Papa Shot, right? So yeah, it's going to be subjective to answer your question, Scott. It's one or the other for me. I mean, the InMail is going to allow me to organize it more, right? Because I can go through and filter my messaging through InMails or just regular messages. And I probably end up getting more regular messages than I do InMails. And they just drown out. They drown out. Unfortunately, they drown out. But I wanted to go back to another way of reaching out to someone. You know, you demonstrated right now one way of finding someone to reach out to regarding that rec. So can you go back to the company page?
Yes.
Yeah, you can just click on
Now we're
Lululemon right
just gonna
there.
click on, yeah. Let me go down to her experience. Okay.
All right, and then go to people. Oh, no, oh, I'm sorry, no, not there. So go back to the company page. And then the tab, the sub tab
Oh,
right
right
there.
here, people.
Yep, yeah, sorry about that.
All right.
Okay, and then keywords, right? So remember the rec was program manager, diversity, what was it? Diversity recruiting or something like that?
Yes.
So in quotations, put diversity recruiting. And hit enter. Boom, I've narrowed it down a list from 52 going the other way to now specifically finding employees that have something to do with diversity recruiting, given that the role that you're trying to get information about has to do with diversity recruiting. There's probably a strong likelihood that some of these folks are tied to that role. So if you really wanted to be very, very strategic, very intentional, I'd go through each profile, it's only 4, and I'd look at their activity. Of these 4, who is the most active on LinkedIn? Because they're most likely to engage with you. If you see hasn't had any activity in the last 90 days or hasn't posted anything recently, then it's likely that they're probably not going to get to you.
Yep. So if we look at her activity.
Boom, 2 days ago, 3
2
days ago.
Well, now let's look
reaching
at
out to her.
Brenda. Now let's look at Brenda's. She's got a featured section, which once again, all like her featured section, it gives us insight into who she is as a person. But it's been a month ago since it looks like she's been active on the platform. So while I'd reach out to both of them, you're probably saying, most likely Jade would probably be the one that.
And then look at her experience.
Look at her about section.
But this one specifically, look at her experience. Program manager, diversity recruiting. Hello. She's probably leaving. She's trying to find a replacement for her. Right. So that's what I'm saying, right? It took us a few minutes to narrow down like this huge monster organization to 4 or 5 people. And now we're very targeted and increasing the likelihood that someone's going to get back to us. Right. So
thank you to Eddie and bullying searches.
Yeah, those quotation marks definitely are important.
And then I mean, with that said, like if she's like, even if this person hasn't been engaged a little bit recently, even a couple of days ago, start to engage in her content. So that way she starts to develop name recognition. All of a sudden she's gonna be like, who's this Scott? I notice Scott's doing this, Scott's doing that. He's supporting me. And then boom, I reach out to her. And she's like, oh, that's Scott. Okay, all right. Scott's a pretty cool dude. Let me see what I can do to help him out.
Yep.
And that's the route we want to go as we're applying for jobs on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Scott,
So
can I
then-
just add one thing?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yep.
So we were talking about messaging as well. And so it works both ways, right? Like as a candidate looking for companies and interviewing, I had recruiters who sent me a message, and it meant a lot when they used that technique because it was more personalized and using email because they have my email address, my Google email address, but that gets also clogged up with all the different emails that I get from other companies. So getting one LinkedIn tells me that they're looking at my profile and how much they're actually interested in knowing more about me. And I received 2 messages from the same company saying how excited they were to meet and just like a whole paragraph. And I was like, wow, like this really says a lot about this company. So it also works both ways.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And I'll tell you that for me as a sourcing recruiter, a lot of my job is to go out there and bait people, right? Get some interest from you to possibly consider an opportunity with us. And then I'll hand you off and you can go do the interviews with the rest of my team, right? So a lot of my job is messaging and getting creative in that manner, finding people and just being a hunter on LinkedIn. And you know, I follow data and I pay attention and I'm a student of the space and I'm like, what's working, what's not. There's a lot of A to B testing, but personalized messaging is going to take time. Like that's the reality, right? You got to go through a profile, look at it, and then you got to craft a message specifically to that person. So again, think about recruiters, right? Those recruiters that are doing that, they're really taking their time to find very specific folks. And that's why it gets so, it's very tough, right? Because we got to find a balance between personalization and then volume. The reality is that it takes like 300 folks to get a hire. And it's, you know, very recent example, this hiring project that just came off of, we started with 500 people to hire 20. 500 to 20 across the US, Canada, and Mexico. And it took us a month to do that. And there were 2 of us working that initial, hey, are you interested? Are you interested? So it's tough, but those that are personalized, I personally had better feedback, more response rates, and more interest. So yeah, definitely it goes both ways.
What do you mean by, I think you said LinkedIn hunter?
No, I hunt.
You
Yeah,
hunt,
I
okay.
hunt.
No,
I'm
I
always on the hunt.
understand that. So what, I mean, explain to us what you mean by you hunt and how do you find? What can
Yeah,
a person
so
do to their profile so that they can be found?
so here is how I do this, and maybe this is because I have it in my blood, I guess, right? I did military recruiting, and Leonor knows what this is about. We're always in the constant hunt. We're always looking whether we're on the clock or off the clock. So I may not be using my systems like this weekend. I may not be using the systems to go and actively work, but I'm on LinkedIn, right? I'm present. So as I'm scrolling through my feed, I know that I have a program manager, a project manager to hire. I know that I have a resource manager to hire. I know that I'm looking for this, and it's always in the back of my mind. So as I'm going through feeds and I see different posts, you might get my attention by a comment, by your post itself. It makes me land on your page. I look at it and I'm like, interesting. I think I'm going to talk to him next week. I have a Chrome extensions that allow me to say, click one button and it sends them over to my queue to contact next week. Right. And there's recruiters that have these tools out there. So while I'm not actively working on the clock, off the clock, I'm always looking. I'm always hunting. Right. But again, it's how active you're on the platform, right? If your Adrian's name kept popping up in my feed and I'm like, who is this Adrian guy? We're not even connected, but I keep seeing him. And so I went, I checked them out, and now, look where we're at. So it's a matter of commenting, of doing posts, then you have a complete profile so that when you do get my attention with a comment or a post and I go look at it and I land on your profile, I can see a complete profile and I'm like, oh crap, like you actually have something that I'm looking for. It's listed here. You have, the 3 most important skills that I'm looking for this particular role. Yeah, I think I'm going to take a shot here. And so that's what I mean by always hunting. I'm always looking. It never stops. I mean, and even military recruiting days, you know, I wasn't in uniform hanging out at the mall with the family. Beb, hold on. I see ice cream boy over here. I'm gonna go talk to him. Right. So, right. I know you don't like serving ice cream and you don't want to do that for the next 4 years. Ever thought about the Marines? Boom, got him.
For me, it was the guys bagging my groceries, like, oh, here's my business card.
Mhm. Yep.
So with that said, what percentage of recruiters do you think have the same mindset as you do?
So here's what's tough, and here's what the reality. I don't have a percentage, right?
Yeah.
But here's what I will tell you. Right now, if we were to do a poll just across the LinkedIn universe, and we asked, right, simple question: what are the hot trending jobs that are in demand right now? Tech will always come up. That's not going away, right? But the other job right now is recruiting. How many people are looking for recruiters? And I'm in the space, and I all day, every day, I go on Facebook and people are looking for recruiters. And so there is this increase in demand for recruiters because businesses are doing really good, right? Regardless of what's in the news, there's growth and it's happening. They can't keep up with business, so they need recruiters, right? Here's how this all ties in. If I'm going to bring so many new entry-level recruiters, they don't got the relative experience. They may have the aptitude for being a good recruiter, but they don't have the experience yet. They haven't gone through the roller coaster. They haven't learned the lessons. So they're going out there and they're doing their best. Not all companies provide great training programs, right? It's like, here you go, you're onboarding. We'll maybe have you shadow someone and off you go to the winds. So they're not necessarily executing best practices, right? So they don't know what they don't know. Yet there's some of us that have military experience or have been in the space for some while in corporate America, and we've picked up on best practices, and we go to webinars and sessions and we refine our skills to find out, how do we stay relevant? How do we stay top of mind? What does the candidate market and experience look like right now? And how do I make sure that I'm in tune with them? Right now, I'd probably say that there's increase of new recruiters that don't know best practices compared to the veterans in the space. So you don't know, but in order to combat that, you have to leverage and fight against it. And the way you do that is completing your profile, because even the newest recruiter, they're probably going to get a LinkedIn recruiter seat and they have all these little filters and they're just going to go filter by filter, and that's pulling from your profile. So if you don't have a complete profile, even that new recruiter is not going to be able to find you, right? The seasoned recruiters are going to find creative ways outside of those filters. They're going to go into Google and pull up some crazy Boolean and be like, boom, found you, right? But there's not a lot. And you know, because of that technology, there's less and less people that know how to effectively use Boolean. So the creativity is like out the window, because now I can do it the easy way and just click on filters. But that's not even the best way. The algorithms are crazy. And I'll tell you this, LinkedIn is known as the blue devil in the recruiting space by those of us that are really student of the space and have been seasoned recruiters. And LinkedIn behind the scenes changes so many things, and they don't tell people. The way we find out as recruiters is when we try something that worked in the past and no longer works. And we're like, well, goddamn, there went LinkedIn again, changing the algorithm or the way they pull up searches. So the best thing that you can do as a job seeker is complete your profile. Every single section, the headline, the about section, the skills, the experience, the projects, accomplishments, behind the scenes, your settings, making sure that your profile is set to public, right? You're in the job search. You shouldn't be posting pictures about your family all day, every day, like Facebook, right? But you should make your profile public so that all of these recruiters can find you. And there's hiring managers that also go out there, believe it or not. That's a mouthful.
Okay, Carla had a question.
Oh, so I'm looking for a recruiter job, right, Eddie? And I see where you're coming from and where you're saying there's a lot of demand for recruiters, but at the same time, every job announcement says, oh, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years. Even though I have it, well, it's not that easy, I tell you.
So, I mean, are we limited on time?
Well, we're close, yeah.
Okay, I was just gonna say, let's put her on the spot and bring up her profile, right?
No,
And
no,
would I
we'll
find
bring
your
up Carla's profile.
Oh, more.
I have
Oh,
no
shoot.
problem with that. I
Right,
love giving
like-
Carla a hard
I'm
time.
used to getting to put on the spot.
So yeah, so one, if you're not getting hits on LinkedIn, it's probably because your profile is not optimized the way
I
it
think,
should
yeah.
be.
I think her headline could be obviously, she has nothing about recruiting in her headline.
Yeah. Yeah. So as a recruiter, I'm not looking for an Army veteran, right? If I'm looking for a recruiter, my manager says, Eddie, help me find a recruiter. I am never going to go look for an Army veteran, a military spouse, an HR, MBA candidate, fluent Portuguese and Spanish. Never. I'm never going to do that. I'm looking for a recruiter. So I'm going to use a headline of recruiter.
So should I put, even though I'm not currently a recruiter, should I put recruiter in my headline?
Absolutely. Why? We go back to the messaging, right? You got to hook them. Just like I'm trying to hook you, you got to hook me.
Let
So
me
if
change.
you come up
Run.
in my filter, shoot, there's people that will say, don't use aspiring. How do you think I found Jennifer Horton? She said aspiring recruiter. I was like, okay, I've seen growth at my company. If you're willing to take an entry-level HR recruiting coordinator spot, I know that we will give you an opportunity to grow into being a recruiter. Hey, Jennifer, you willing to start off there? She's like, let's do it. And she's there. Right.
I see.
Now, I won't do a search for aspiring recruiter, but I'll do a search for recruiter. So as long as you have recruiter, you're coming up.
But you talk about the headline. So when you search, when you do your Boolean search, but there, if my headline has recruiter, I'm going to pop up.
Yes.
How about like if I have under my experience section?
So when you do searches, and even on if we were to do a regular search right now, right, for people recruiter, we're going to have a gazillion pages of people that come up as recruiter, right? Do you want to be on page 5076 or do you want to be on page 7? If you only have keyword recruiter, which is the most important word when I'm looking for a recruiter, and you only have it listed on your profile one time, you're going to be on page 5076. And I'm never clicking on it. The more times your keywords come up in your profile, the heavier your profile becomes, the more valuable it becomes, the closer you are to the front of that page. Does that make sense?
It does. I was just confused because since I'm not a recruiter, I thought about putting there, but I thought, well, I'm not a recruiter. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to lie to people. You know what I mean?
But look,
but since that's what I'm looking for, it's okay to put. Okay.
But Eddie,
I would.
go look down as we go down and we look at her experience. Look, recruiter. And then, all this experience sort of even in HR, which is, typical to recruiting and stuff like that. I mean, you're 100% correct. I mean, it's got to be up here as well. You got to tell us what you want to do.
Go down to the skill section.
Oh, okay.
Oh, in the skill section.
Oh boy, that's, she needs to move that stuff up to the top.
Gotcha. I'll do that too.
She's got her, Did you make?
Okay, open it up. Okay, stakeholder engagement, like I'm not looking for that. Recruiting, full life cycle recruiting. Okay, keep going. Onboarding, interpersonal.
So she should probably have talent acquisition.
So I picked up on like 3 skills, right? Out of your entire 50 that have anything to do with recruiting, right? Because I'm going to make an assumption that if you want to be a recruiter or you are currently a recruiter, you're naturally a people person, right? So I'm not going to specifically look for interpersonal skills or communication. Like that should be a given the title, the function, the career that you're trying to get into, right? So what are some hard skills or some specific skills to recruiting that you can list, right? That's what we're looking for. Interviewing, screening, phone calls, scheduling. I mean, you just go look at some of the recruiting jobs and look at the descriptions. And if you find yourself reading that job description and you're like, yep, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. You need to steal it and dump it into your profile.
I'm writing down everything.
And this goes down to any profession, not just recruiting. If you're in logistics, do the exact same thing. Look at
Yep.
vacancy announcements related to logistics and dump those keywords into your profile.
Yeah, and then another thing, right? So LinkedIn is obviously not the only way to get a job, but it is one of the most efficient ways to get a job, right? So let's go back to Lululemon, right? You go out there and you want to do, I don't know, logistics, right? Because everyone has to have some sort of logistics, and you go find their logistics people, just kind of the way we showed you how to find people. Go to their profiles, go down to the bottom. They're obviously there as employees, so something on their profile had to have worked. Sometimes it's a mirror image of the resume. Other times it's a supplement. But go down to their page and look at the skill section. And if you're like, yep, that's me, dump those on yours. Because another strategy that recruiters use is, hey, hiring manager, who is your number one employee on your team? Who do you want me to replicate? Oh, replicate Scott. Okay. Does he have a LinkedIn profile? Yeah, he does. It's great. I go, Scott, hey, LinkedIn recruiter license. I want you to mirror Scott's profile and show me everyone that looks like him. So you take that approach. Go find Scott, the logistics guy at Lululemon. Take a look at their profile, look at the skill set. And if you're going like this, then you need to add those skill sets to your profile.
Oh, dang. Okay, got it. I love it.
Right? Like I'm a
Mhm.
recruiter, right? Go look at mine.
I'm going to your profile right
Oh,
now.
you haven't, Carla, you haven't talked to Eddie yet?
We not on that level, but like I always comment on his posts. I see he always likes my posts.
Oh yeah,
I don't know
Eddie's
where
the
we ever
real
talk.
deal.
So yeah, you guys need to set up some time to have a conversation.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Definitely.
We're at the top of the hour. Not to make this just about Carla. I'm down. We're down to, we're dwindling down a little bit. But Eddie, you just you dropped some bombs, and I'm so greatly appreciative to you. And we go back, over a year now, and I think I mean, really, I appreciate our friendship as much as the professional aspects of our lives. So thank you for stopping by and helping us out. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap up?
No questions for me, but Eddie, I'll probably be hitting you up. I should be finding out what company I'm paired up with through Hiring Our Heroes.
Oh, snaps. Very cool.
So
Very cool.
I'm excited. Can I go ahead and do my closing comments?
Yes,
now,
please
Scott?
do. Yes.
Okay, so just real quick. Oh, this is perfect timing. Scott's got a phone call.
I know it's
But
my
we
wife,
talked.
actually.
Oh, okay. We talked a lot about commenting, right? The importance of commenting.
We'll go just-
And if you
no,
don't follow Michael
I'll
Quinn,
let you know. Bye.
he is a great guy to follow. He provides a lot of content. But I listened to one of his YouTube videos. He did a seminar, LOA seminar, and he explained it really well, which really resonated with me and I think about a lot. He said, when you comment, it's like being in a classroom, right? Or being in a meeting. Are you going to be that person that's in the back, just nodding their head yes or no? Nobody's going to remember you. If you're the person that actually engages and speaks and adds value to the conversation, they're going to remember your name. So ever since I listened to that, anytime I jump on a meeting, before I used to be the person that would just listen in. I wouldn't even come on video. But that really resonated with me, is to engage, whether you're commenting, whether you're in a meeting, get yourself out there, get uncomfortable. And the other thing I wanted to touch on is, if it wasn't for LinkedIn, for me, I think, I've interviewed with 11 different companies through Hiring Our Heroes, and I received 7 offers. And I can guarantee you that every single one of them, the recruiters for each company, we somehow communicated on LinkedIn. So I really do believe that LinkedIn had a lot to do with it. And, being able to build up my profile, it's not the best. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not even at 500 connections yet. I'm like at 467. So if you haven't connected with me, help me reach to 500. But it was a pleasure to be here today. I'm excited to meet everybody. Nice to see Eddie again. And Scott, I would love to do this again. That's it for me.
We'll definitely have you during our happy hour edition. So we'll get together with our happy hour edition, hopefully the end of April, beginning of May, something like that. We'll make sure we let everybody know so they can join us for some more insight. But I really am thankful for everybody that showed up. I think today was amazing. I love the idea that you got to show up. Just don't be that person nodding in the back of the classroom. You got to step up. You got to make yourself recognized, and that's how good things will happen. So hopefully with that point, like I said, this is recorded. So if you want to go back and listen to the recording, please let me know. I'll be happy to share it with you. Other than that, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Again, Eddie, thank you for stopping by. Thank you, Lenore, for everything you did for me today. I greatly appreciate the support. Carla, of course, you're always welcome. So with that said, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Jared, I'm not sure if you're still out there, but thank you, my friend. Have a nice weekend, everybody, and we'll see you on the other side.
Woo! Have a good one, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you.
again.
Hasta luego.